before VRChat, I struggled with finding like my crowd, my people, the people that I want to be around, because I knew the people I want to be around were introverted people. And it's really hard to go into the real world and find introverted people because
they're introverted.
By definition, they're introverted, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so they're sitting at home on their computers. And I remember talking to a therapist I had in the past where I was just like, I don't know how to find my people. I don't think I ever will, because like, how would I? And then I came to this space, and this space turns introverted people into extroverted people. And it's just like, you find those soft, kind folk that do a lot of deep thinking that are normally just sitting on their computers, because like they're still doing that in a way. But now VRChat's made a way for this to be a social experience.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sweet Talking Podcast with me, your host, Nefertiti. It's great to see you for episode 43 of this podcast that we've been doing for approximately around 2 years or so now. We've been doing this for a while, and it's really, really cool to be at episode 43. We have another exciting guest for you this evening. But before we jump into tonight's guest, I want to quickly let you all know that tonight isn't possible. These podcasts are sustained by our continued supporters over on Twitch, people who have subscribed to me, and also my patrons on patreon.com/Nefertiti. So I want to take a quick moment to quickly shout those people out and let you all know what that is, what my Patreon is, so you guys can, if you want to support what we're doing and what we're building here, you have an opportunity to do so. Thank you to all of my patrons. You guys make this possible. You guys on Twitch and also on YouTube. Thank you all so much for your support over there during my streams and everything. But I'm so grateful to many of you who have been so supportive of the content that I've been creating and the community that we're building together. So thank you again so much to all of my patrons. So as I have been saying, we do have another exciting guest for you this evening. My guest, it goes by the name Silent. So Sally and I will be having a conversation. We'll be giving her a chance to share a little bit about herself. We'll be jumping to that in just a second, but we'll go ahead and kind of break the ice here, kind of get things started with everything. So Silent, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going tonight? How's it going? How you doing?
It's going good. It's the start of my night. I wake up super late, and so this is a great way to start my day.
Fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you've taken the time to sit down with me and chat with me tonight. I really do appreciate that very much. But yeah, how I wanna kind of quickly touch on like how we ended up meeting for the first time. We actually met at a club event. I believe it was I think it was at a PSHQ event that we ended up meeting at. And I approached you very awkwardly, and I tried not to be too awkward about it, but approached you and just kind of, I'd heard about you, and I wanted to just kind of see what you're all about. And yeah, it was like just right off the bat, we had a really great kind of back and forth, just kind of initially when we met. I still remember that. It was probably around like 2 months ago or so, I would say.
Yeah, like a month and a half. Yeah, we got right into some deep conversation, and then you were just like, you know what? Let's save this for a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I was like, I think we could talk in circles, and I think, so I'm really excited to talk to you. And I'm glad that you walked up to me. Yeah, it was the PSHQ boiler event. Boiler room.
Yeah. I really try not to make those events. I try not to be very overtly hey, I do a podcast, blah blah blah. I try to be very kind of I just want to genuinely talk to you. But yeah, I did mention the podcast because I think you would make a good guest, and a good friend of mine recommended me to you. So someone who's actually been on the podcast. Allie was on the podcast as well. So she told me about you, and I'm like, oh, this person sounds really interesting. So I'm very glad that we could have that. We had a very active back and forth about VRChat and such, and I'm very glad to kind of continue that tonight. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. All right, so how about we kind of start at the beginning, kind of kind of just get the ball rolling with a very general question. Can you give us a very quick description of who is Silent? Who is Silent? Like, what do you enjoy? Like what makes you who you are? And you can go into as much detail as you'd like. Obviously, we want to dig deeper into a lot of topics later on. So kind of keep things kind of on this like very kind of basic general descriptions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm Silent. DJ, VJ, event producer, and two-time world champion drone racing pilot. That's usually the little spiel I like to say. Yeah, I've been in the VRChat scene for like 4 years, making art as a visual designer for like DJs and clubs. And so I do primarily I do visuals for assortment of clubs and DJs live as they're performing. That's kind of how, like, that's the one thing that I really took off with in this space. But other than that, I like also produce music, I DJ, and then I have been incorporating all of those things into the real world. So I've been bringing like event production and VJing and DJing. Like I've been branching out through into the real world through all my training, doing stuff in the space. I think that's the quick rundown.
All right, cool. I mean, that's like I would guess that like, well, not that I would guess, but it's very interesting that you kind of got into doing things in VRChat first, and from your experiences of VRChat, started to branch out into like IRL type events and such. So that's really, that transition is it's very, very interesting. But I'm usually hearing about it the opposite way. I've had a number of DJs on my podcast, and typically they're doing things IRL first, and then they're like moving into VRChat, not the other way around. So that's pretty interesting. Like, but yeah, we'll definitely be talking more about that later on for sure. I do want to just for context for people who may not be aware, I do want to quickly ask, what are your pronouns? Just to kind of get that out the way.
Yeah, of course. She, her. I use she, her pronouns.
Okay, cool. All right. So beyond that, how did you come up with the name Silent? Like, where does that come from? There are actually a number of people that I know in VRChat who have that moniker of the name Silent, that alias. So
Silent.
Yeah. So I guess where does yours come from?
Yeah. It was around, so in 2010 is when I first started getting into music production, and I thought I was gonna like go into like be a music producer and like become a DJ through that, like producing my own music, and like I like had all these aspirations to tour around. I was really inspired by artists like deadmau5 and Skrillex at the time. I kind of wanted to be an EDM kind of producer, and so I needed to create a moniker for myself, and I was like writing this album, and this album had this like big deep story, and I kind of wanted to do the whole like wear a helmet and be like pseudo anonymous kind of on stage, like who is this person, kind of like what Marshmello kind of did later on. And so in the story that I was writing, I had this character that was like the silent antagonist, and it was like this person that this kind of they were like throwing a wrench in the whole works of the world and messing a bunch of stuff up, but no one knew who they were, and they were just like the silent antagonist. And so I adopted that moniker of silent antagonist as I produced my music. And then as time went on, I got into professional drone racing. And in drone racing, like everyone has like a moniker, like a name that they choose for themselves. Like no one goes by their given name, or like the name they go by every day. And so I shortened silent antagonist just to silent for that. And then that became my that was back in like 2015. So that kind of became my internet name. And then brought that into VR, and then realized I was trans. And then when it came down to like I remember during the beginning of COVID, I was hanging on VR hardcore all the time. everyone was calling me Silent, and when it came time to kind of like choose a new name for myself, I decided to go with Silent. And so on my legal documents now, it's my name is Silent, Silent all the way through.
So when you say your legal documents, do you mean like your birth certificate?
Yeah, like as in the legal name is Silent.
Oh wow,
that's my first name now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I've integrated fully. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just integrated into my life.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess when you have an alias like that for such a long time, I guess it just makes sense. It's what you're most comfortable with. It seems like, so it just made sense to kind of make that your legal name. That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, it was like for like during COVID, I lived with my family, but I was spending so much time in VR and around my friends, and just like that, the name that people were using to refer to me the most was, this name Silent, and like that's just like what I heard day after day, and I was just like, until like it got to the point where now when I hear people use the word Silent, it like picks me, like I'm like, oh wait, talked about me? Oh no, they're mentioning the word. That's right, Silent's a word. Not only my name, but it's like it just like got so ingrained in my brain that I was like, oh yeah, that it makes sense to choose that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that is a unique story that I have not heard anyone tell me before. So that's very, very interesting to me. What's also very interesting is, like I've interviewed a number of trans people on the podcast, and I think it's very, very interesting to kind of get a sense of like where like their journey, like what kind of led them to understanding that about themselves. I endeavor to have very honest, like serious conversations about it, because I know it's a very personal thing for a lot of people. So can you tell us a little bit about like how you came to, I guess, understand yourself as being trans? While I guess you're doing your time doing the drone racing and spending so much time in VRChat.
And so, it goes back a while back when I, back around 2010, 2011, I joined this band. I used to play, I played in this, like as a touring musician for 8 years, and this band was called the What Cheer Brigade. We were a 20-piece punk metal brass band. That's a whole other conversation. That's like, it's a wild story and time of my life. But they were based out of Providence, Rhode Island, and deeply ingrained in the punk scene that was there, and the punk community in Providence, Rhode Island. And that's kind of when I started to learn a lot about gender expression and like the idea and concept of non-binary, the idea and concept of like polyamory, and it was just kind of where I was having my, I guess, coming of age moment of like just realizing like the wide spectrum of human experience through this community, and over time, like I always felt, that like my gender maybe didn't match the kind of like what I wanted to express as myself and the kind of gender roles that were kind of being assigned to me. I like to wear my hair long. I remember being in high school and I was like, why do I have to be the one that asks the girls out? Like, why can't the girls like ask me out? Like, I don't want to ask someone to prom. I want someone to ask me to go to prom, and just like stuff like that. I didn't really understand it for a very long time, just because like in the mid 2000s there wasn't a lot of that kind of queer representation in media and stuff like that, so I was kind of like left like in the lurch in a little bit. And then through this very amazing, beautiful, vibrant community in Providence, Rhode Island, where I eventually moved to, I just kind of started to learn through osmosis of like what was happening around me. And then after a little bit of time, I was like, oh, I think I'm non-binary. Like I think I don't fit my gender roles. Like I think I'm non-binary. And that as time went on and I started to play with gender, explore gender a little bit more, leading up like to 2020 or like the end of 2019, I went to this convention called MacFest, and I went there solo, just like on my own, and I had some friends there, and it was the first time I brought like an all-femme outfit, And I tried on this all-femme outfit, and I had this experience of looking at myself in the mirror and being like, oh fuck, I'm trans. I'm girl. I'm girl. This is me. This is very, very much me. And then luckily just a few months after that, I got into VRChat, where I had this kind of beautiful place to really start to explore that and choose an avatar and like build an avatar and hire people to make avatars for me that would like kind of further this gender exploration and kind of figure out the ideal person that I want to be in real life. And so my avatars are an expression of me. This is like, I just cut a lot of my hair off. I have like a cute bob now, but I used to have long brown hair. I have glasses just like these, and I like to wear big sweaters, and like I'm kind of wearing the same fit IRL that I'm wearing right now. And so I like to kind of fuse the integration. VRChat's been an amazing tool to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like I know there are a number of people who have they've used VRChat as a means to really kind of figure out and make sense of their identity and how they fit into the grand scheme of like, you know, just life in general, because life can be very complicated. It can be very, very challenging to understand yourself. And I think we're all just really trying to make sense of ourselves in this very, very like crazy, confusing world where things happen to us and we don't expect them to happen. So the best thing that we can really do is have a as close and as deep of an understanding of our identities as we possibly can. So I think VRChat has definitely helped a lot of people with that. And it seems like it's helped you as well, which is very, very good to hear. I mean, you did a lot of work IRL. And you've just kind of you've made VRChat as an extension of that. So that's super that's very interesting, and I appreciate you sharing like that process of kind of working through like gradually kind of coming to terms with, you know, where you fit in your own in your own identity, in your own place in the world. So thank you, great.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask about like, I mean, did anything particularly change for you once you came to understand yourself as being trans? Did anything like adjust for you? Did anything, any significant changes?
Yeah, definitely 100%. Just become more confident in myself. I wanted to see myself in the mirror. You know, like I always wondered why I didn't like pictures. I didn't like pictures of me, and I didn't like to like, you know, really like, I didn't care about my appearance. I didn't care about my clothing, you know, and I kind of I just generally was not as confident and didn't just kind of like shied away from my appearance. I never quite understood why until, you know, like until I realized I was trans, and then I was like, oh, I like being pretty, and I like working towards like, you know, having a nice outfit and taking care of my hair and taking care of myself. I don't know, I was able to view myself entirely differently, where instead of not necessarily wanting to be in the body that I'm in, actually appreciating it and working towards like having a healthier lifestyle. And just my self-confidence is like through the roof. Like honestly, I'm very happy with who I am and who I'm becoming, and actually having a direction and seeing that kind of future for myself, which I can't say I had that before.
Ooh. Yeah. So yeah,
VRChat stuff.
Yeah, you know, that is definitely something that happens to VRChat. You know, technology is wonky sometimes, but anyway, yeah, but yeah, I love that. I think that's really wonderful. There's nothing that I love hearing about more than people really finding confidence in themselves, because I think, you know, there are a lot of people in VRChat and just in life who struggle to love themselves, who struggle to find, you know, appreciation for like the body that they have, or, you know, just, you know, aspects of their personality that may be a little bit strange to or they think may be strange to other people. Because usually it's all in their head in the first place. Usually people's personalities aren't that strange, but they get into their head, and thusly it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in that regard, you know? But I think having people understand themselves and come to a better understanding of like what makes them a better version of themselves and striving towards that every day, I think can be very, very empowering for a number of people, and for all people, I would say. So that's awesome that you've been doing that, and been working towards that. And how long ago was it when you figured this out? I think it was 2020, you said?
Yeah. I was like playing with gender like around 2017, and the ideas of like being non-binary. And luckily I was in a community that was like supporting that, and like kind of like celebrating that idea, and like, you know, going by they them, and having like this like punk community accept that and kind of entertain those ideas. Or I mean, not entertain those ideas, but yeah, you know, accept those ideas, accept that expression of myself. But 2020 is when I really like realized. It was like January of 2020, when I was like, I'm making the switch. I'm telling my parents, I'm telling my family. Well, it took a little while to tell the extended family, and telling my friends, and gosh, what a perfect time and to kind of figure that out. I mean, I wish I figured it out much earlier in my life, but I was so lucky to find that in a time of, I guess, lockdown, and then also get my VR headset around that time and join VRChat, because here in VR, me expressing myself as female was just not questioned. It was just broadly accepted by the scene immediately. I didn't have to explain myself. Everyone celebrated it, and I was just like, you know, I just let people know, and they were just like, cool, whatever. Doesn't matter, like, glad you're here kind of deal. And that was like super rad. Like, I'm so grateful for like having this community during that time.
Yeah. VRChat during 2020 especially, I'm sure really helped a lot of people like find, you know, the group of people that really resonated with, because, you know, you couldn't go out like you used to. So VRChat was for many people a sense of community, maybe even an escape, but just finding people that are like them, and to figure more things out about themselves, like, in the presence of literally other people. It may be in a virtual space, but VRChat has certainly created a space where people can get to know other people in a very meaningful way, regardless of, you know, having phantom sense or otherwise. You know, just be able to really interact with people and communicate with other people, regardless of where they are in the world. And that's really kind of the I would say one of the top benefits of VRChat. So let's actually get into that. Let's actually talk a little bit about VRChat as a whole, and what that was like for you. And I know that you said you got into VRChat in 2020. That's when you first got your headset. So you were basically like right into a headset, essentially. Yeah. No desktop. You weren't desky at all.
Oh, yeah. I had a really good friend of mine, like, telling me about this space called VRChat before I had a VR headset, and he did have me join once. He was like, "Hey, like, I have this cool friend group. They're really awesome. Like, you could play this game on desktop. You should come and hang out and like with us and like try this out." And I did try it once in desktop, and I did not like that experience of being in desktop in VRChat, because I saw all these people, like I think one or two of them might have had full body at that point, but I saw these people sitting around each other, expressing themselves, being able to kind of like wave their hands and talk to each other through body language, and there I was, like, you know, just like little like body just like jumping up and down, and I couldn't do that experience. I could not do it. I knew I was missing out on something, and I knew that I was being separated from the experience, and it was hard to get a word in. You know, nothing against anyone that you know uses desktop to access the space. I think it's incredible to do so, and I definitely celebrate those that do so. Personally, for me, I did not enjoy that experience. And so I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't think I could like do this. Like, your friends seem cool, but this is just way too uncanny and not enjoyable for me. And I knew I wanted VR. I knew I wanted a VR headset. There's games that I saw in VR that I wanted. With my COVID stimulus fund is when I bought my headset. And then maybe a month or less of VR gaming before I gave VRChat a chance. Yeah, I think I lost the question.
Basically, I was just asking, like, were you a deskie when you got into VRChat? Because you mentioned you got the headset right away. So you were a deskie like once.
It was way too uncanny of an experience for me.
Yeah, I get you. Okay, so when it comes to VRChat and kind of getting into it, can you tell us about your initial experience with getting involved in VRChat? Like, well, once you got your headset and you were able to have those experiences, what exactly was that like? Like very early on for you?
Yeah. So like, I was one of the lucky ones, definitely. When I got into VRChat, I had this friend of mine who brought me into their friend group, like, immediately. And so I skipped the whole running around through public lobbies and like being harassed by children and stuff like that, and just like kind of that awkwardness of not finding a group. So I was very lucky that someone brought me immediately into private instances of just like friends sitting in front of mirrors and hanging out. And I was kind of instantly hooked because I saw this amazing, powerful technology. I think I remember like one of the first things that really got me was like I asked someone a question, or asked my friend a question, and they didn't quite understand what I was saying, and so they just kind of instinctively tilted their head, which like is body language for I don't follow you. Can you please tell me more? And it was kind of incredible to me, like watching this person say all those words without saying any of those words. They just tilted their head, and I knew that I just needed to explain myself further. And I was like, holy crap, body language in VR is so much cooler than like just sitting in a Discord call, like over voice. And then like I didn't know many people that did like video calls and stuff like that. It was just like I was like, wow, I'm with these people. And then like the second thing that really pointed that out to me was like someone gesturing towards something or pointing towards something. It was like, hey, like where can you do this? Like how did you do that? Like there's like, where's the button for the mirror? And they're like, oh, it's over there. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You could just like point at stuff in this space. So like we're embodying this space. And so I was instantly hooked. And then maybe a month after I got my headset and started to get into it, my friend got broken up with by their VR girlfriend and said, fuck this, I'm out. And then like left VR for good. I was like, dude, I just got here. You like told me to get a headset and stuff like that. I was like what now? Like like frick. I didn't really have an emotional attachment to his friend group yet. And so luckily, like very quickly, maybe 2 months in, I saw Fia Bunny posted it, like I was into their Twitch and just like into the whole idea of VRChat, kind of like how Fia was like this shit, like VR is going to change the world, it's going to change everything and changes human interaction, like this is so cool. And they were posting about, hey, there's this after party for this event called VCat, and there's gonna be live DJs there. And I was like, whoa, like live music, live DJs, live performances, like what the fuck is this? And so I showed up there, met a bunch of people at that party, a bunch of people that were doing stuff in the scene, and immediately I was like, this is what I gotta be doing. I had just left my band, I was not touring anymore, and I wanted back into the idea of doing events and doing production. And I was just like, I fell in love with that community very, very quickly. And so like as fast as I could, I was like started getting involved with these kinds of music events and shows, and then I haven't looked back since. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's really fortunate to not have to go through it's more like an initiation. It's like an indirect hazing of having to go through Publix when you first get into VRChat, like having that experience of exploring, you know, public space, the public instances where, you know, there's all kinds of craziness happening, all manner of people in those instances, and it's kind of like, I guess, getting to know people or finding where you belong in those spaces.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting that you had the opportunity to just kind of skip all of that. It's very, very lucky because
very fortunate.
Yeah, that's
Honestly,
not the usual for most people. Yeah.
Yeah, I refer to like public instances as like the great firewall of VRChat. And it's kind of a shame, honestly, because so many people get into the space, they try VR for the first time, and they go to a great pug or they go to any public instance anywhere, and if you're not someone that can see past what that experience is like, and that experience is not good, it's not fun, you're around a bunch of people who are like bullying each other, or like you're around a bunch of kids shouting slurs, and it's just like a not great experience. And if you're not someone that could understand what the underlying technology can accomplish, like if you struggle with like seeing past that, people are immediately turned off from this platform. I think about that all the freaking time. It's like it's what's the rate that people stay in this space when having that experience? And most people, I'll talk to people in the real world about like, hey, like I do this thing called VRChat, and like sometimes they'll be like, I tried that and it's a bunch of screaming kids. And I hear that all the freaking time. I hear that all the time, and it's just like, you know, it's like I wish there was like a better way to introduce this space when you're like getting in here solo. And so like the public lobbies are like a great this firewall, and like some people can see past it, some people can put up with it, and some people continue to go through it because they know there's more in here. Then maybe they watch Twitch streams, or maybe they like seen like, you know, stuff on Twitter or stuff like that, or seen stuff on TikTok where they're like, I know this could be a fun space. But yeah, so I was very fortunate, I feel like, to instantly get into private lobbies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I agree with everything that you're saying. It's it really takes someone of a strong will and an open mind to be able to survive the initiation of exploring VRChat in its public form. It's definitely the really crazy thing is, I do think it has some value to people who have been in VRChat for like, you know, 2 or more years to kind of go back to the public instances to kind of like, I wouldn't say relive it, but just to kind of remember what VRChat kind of is at its core, like to have that experience.
Yeah.
To do, I think that's necessary. I think everyone should go back to a public instance after spending like years in private instances. You should just go back, have that experience, feel what that is like again, and I think it can be very. It can be very kind of renewal. It can be very renewing. Like it provides context and perspective with regards to like what this platform like is and what the majority of people are seeing when they first get here. You know, maybe how that person maybe first got into VRChat themselves, or maybe something that they hadn't experienced in a very long time after it being, you know, finding their group of people, their group of friends. I think it's very, very useful to have that perspective and of like what people are predominantly seeing when they come into VRChat for the first time. But as for like a better way, searching for like a better way of how people can have a more, I guess, streamlined experience with VRChat, I hadn't really thought about this, but just out of just off the top of my head, right in this instant, I was thinking like, wouldn't it be not so bad to have like featured like groups, like if there's like, I don't know, if there's like, I don't know, like have if there was a way that VRChat could like have in their main world, in their initial world, to have like groups featured that people can like access through that world. So like just have featured groups where people can like jump into a specific group and just be able to go, oh, that seems interesting. Like, you know, sort of kind of how No Time to Talk sort of works. How you choose like a bunch of different categories and you can meet people based on those categories in that instance. Like maybe just having like featured groups in the VRChat homeworld where people can like, oh, that sounds interesting, that seems interesting, and just have people get integrated that way rather than having to jump into a drinking night instance or like you say a great pug instance. Just kind of thinking about it from that perspective. I don't know how hard or how difficult or how feasible that is, but I don't know. Just like I think it would be very, very helpful because people aren't really looking in the Discord. VRChat has their own Discord and everything, but people aren't really going there to like find a place to go when they first get into VRChat. They just want to be able to jump in and make it work. They want it the experience to just work out itself. And if you're not lucky enough to have a friend, like I had a friend who kind of introduced me to everything. Not to everything, but to like the basis of like VRChat. I went to my first public worlds with them, so I had that experience. But then after I had that experience with them, I was able to kind of like see, oh well, there's more to it than just that. I kind of instantly was able to put two and two together and like, oh, there's so much more here than just this. But a lot of people can't. So yeah. What would you think would be like a good way for people to have a better, a smoother transition, like easing into the VRChat space? Like, what do you have any ideas of how that can be done?
Yeah, no, this is something I've thought a lot about. I've had a friend who like told me like one thing that they do is they will quite often go to public worlds and look for the people that are new and the people that they sort of think can understand what's going on, and what they say is like save them from the public instances and be like, hey, like you're new here, you seem really cool, by the way, this isn't all VRChat is, and then they'll like bring them world hopping, or they'll usher them into like a party or something like that, and kind of like will like shepherd people. And so I think like one thing is like is like you said, to go to these public worlds and remember what it was like, but also like kind of be of service to new players and kind of welcome them in. I think is something that is lost and not really thought about, because like everyone just kind of finds their friend groups and they stick with them, which is totally okay and totally valid. But I think it's also important to remember like what it was like when we didn't find our people, and understand that it's hard to find our people, and or find your people, and that it does take, like you said, like you met a friend, or you had a friend that was able to usher you into those experiences, and that same for me. I met someone who ushered me into like these different groups, and like that's how this stuff works right now. There is the group system in VRChat, and you could search through the groups and you could kind of find people now. It's something I don't do enough, and I wonder what it's like for someone new if people do use that to try to find these groups. I think one thing that's awesome is like when you select a world now, it lists all the instances, and then there's those certain group instances, and like that's like one thing I do a little bit of exploring. Like I'll go to like there's certain worlds I'll visit and be like, ooh, who are these people? They are like the weed smokers of VR, they call themselves, or something like that. It's just like or you click and it has a little bio and it's like, oh, we just like to hang out and stuff like that. And so I think like that is there. I don't think it's really. I wonder what the experience is, but as to what I would like to see is the featured group idea. I think it is pretty good. There comes to like a little bit of like I feel like VRChat will kind of stray away from that a little bit, because then it's like a little bit of like nepotism, like who gets featured and stuff like that, and it'll be a lot of like, but they do kind of do these things for like the New Year's events. Mm-hmm. They have all these booths and stuff like that, and all these like food trucks that are representing all these different communities, and you have all the posters that they put up and stuff like that. And I don't know why that's reserved for just like the New Year's event. I like, the one thing I would really like to see, and one thing I think that's very much missing, is just like a bulletin board. Some kind of bulletin board that almost anyone can like submit their poster or their little thing, and like we see them in worlds like Popcorn Palace and some of the different movie worlds where they have the posters and stuff, and I think that's one way that people can discover. But that's like a paid for kind of advertisement kind of deal. You have to pay these kind of worlds. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see someone develop something where that is like, you know, like if I'm in a city in the real world, there's these designated spots in the cities, like certain telephone poles would be plastered with a ton of posters, or like outside certain venues would be like this kiosk that's just covered with posters of everything that's happening that week. And we don't have a system like that in VR. We have systems like that outside of VR, like VRC.TL. It exists on the internet and stuff like that. But to have something here where like in the VRChat, like the home world, the standard home world, it would be so cool if there was just like a bulletin board and anyone could submit their poster. Maybe they have to have someone review it, so there's not like
all kinds of nonsense.
Awful, nonsense or awful things. And then somehow have a system that's randomized, where every time you load into your home world, just random posters are put on there of all these different events, all these different communities, and it allows people to kind of understand what's going on. That's, I think, what we're really missing. It's just some kind of like current event, like some kind of like magazine, some zine or something like that kind of just shows people, like, you know, through the game, through the platform, for free, what's going on here.
Yeah, and like
we're missing that.
Yeah, and like the easiest way to, like, you know, solve the like who gets featured problem is just make it random. Like every instance, just have it rotating randomly. Just have it, whatever people have submitted, just have it be random on the bulletin board. That's the easiest way to solve it. I mean, it's possible. It's very plausible, and like they could even like they could even take the idea of like how cities have like posters plastered all over the place. They could even take that and use that idea in the VRChat, the home VRChat home world, and just make it as if it's a city itself, and just you know, just use that.
It is, right?
Yeah, it is. So I think that's a very, very feasible idea. Like, and I wonder how easy that would be to do. I mean, I would imagine that they have plenty of talented people that could to have something like that implemented, and I'm sure the community would really appreciate that. And it would also give people, it would also put people in the VRChat home world that are like active players, that are like actually part of like who are actually like, they're actually here. They've been here. They've been in VRChat for years, and it would bring people like you and me who've been here for years back to that world. I haven't really been there since like New Year's, or since they revamped it like recently. I've only been there once, but it would bring people like you and me back there to like maybe see what's going on, and maybe like have an instance of like where people are like literally just getting into the game, just warping in for the first time, and have that time, the opportunity to maybe shepherd people and to meet new people and to just like it should be like a hub. It should be. And I think that would be a great way to kind of bring people and motivate people to actually be there, you know?
Yeah, and there used to be, VRChat did have a hub world, and I don't know what's happened to it, but it was something like that. It was like a portal like that in the home world that brought you to the VRChat hub, and it was like one of the first like ideas of like a VRChat like a public instance. Of course, there's always been public instances, but this was like a public instance for the idea of like meeting other people randomly in VR instead of going to the pub or something like that. It was just like it was just the next doorway that they had, and I rarely went there because I think at the point that I got in, people were like, "Oh yeah, the hub is chaotic. It's as crazy as like Pug or whatever." And I did have experiences, but I went there and someone runs up to me and they just start shouting obscenities or whatever.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
But I think it will take someone just like a normal creator to create some kind of hub like that. And I would love to see someone inspired enough and like have the power and the energy to make that a reality. Like something where a bunch of people could just like go on this Discord, submit whatever PNGs. They have a team that makes sure that the PNGs are not obscene, and then they just have it like every day just rotating through all these different posters. Like I can't wait for that. And it will happen one day, someone will make it, but I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and like it doesn't even have to be just a hub. It could be a literal like asset that anyone can put in their world. They could just have a bulletin board placed in their own world. That would be that would make it even more effective, honestly. And it would be completely free. Yeah. So it's like
and with PNG loading.
Yeah.
Just automatically just like populate it with that week's or that day's posters.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hasn't anybody thought of this or done this yet? I don't know, but it's the ingenuity of this community is something that really captured me right when I was getting started in VRChat, and I realized that pretty quickly, that there was just a level of creativity and just people who are thinking outside of the box. Like I truly believe that VRChat houses some of the most creative, most intelligent people ever. All of us are here, and it's very fascinating to think of it that way. But obviously there's bad eggs no matter where you go. There'll always be bad eggs. But I think overall, the level of creativity that is here on this platform is undeniable. And it's so cool. Once you kind of understand that these worlds were not created by the devs. These worlds are created by people. The avatar worlds, they're created by people. And once you kind of that's that sinks in, I think that makes a person's initial experience in VRChat that much more exciting. I mean, as long as they have an open mind, at least. Not everybody will be able to kind of see and connect the dots in that way, but there should be more ways to facilitate that level of thinking more seamlessly, and by having the bulletin board, letting people know that there are things going on in VRChat, and it's not simply a place where where underage people are populating these spaces, or people are just getting drunk all the time. It's not just that. It's so much more. So let's actually talk about what's one thing that you would that you find let's say good. That's such a generic word to use. What is something that you find agreeable in VRChat, and one thing that you find disagreeable in VRChat?
Ooh, what do you mean?
I mean,
that is a deep question.
Okay. I mean, in terms of just I guess in terms of your experience, you've been in VRChat for 4 years. I've been in VRChat for 2. In terms of what could be what do you find? What do you find about VRChat that is legitimately this is something that really works, and I'm glad the devs have done this thing, or that this thing exists in VRChat? And what's another thing that this is something that exists in VRChat but probably shouldn't exist in VRChat, or should be improved in some way?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that. Is a really big question. Oof. I mean, the one thing that's doing right is, just connecting people. I think that's in the ways that it does it, in the ways that it does it globally, and the way that it handles latency, and is allowing us to kind of, sit down and have this conversation so effortlessly, right? I didn't have to do much to get here at all. I just had to, I made sure my trackers were charged, and made sure my controllers were charged, and I put the headset on my head, and we easily can just do this. That's incredible. That's that's what this platform and idea was founded on, and I think they are able to execute that very well. I mean, I wasn't there for it, but apparently the first VRChat worlds, the first world that was created it's a world with a mirror and a campfire, and the idea was people come here at the end of their day to discuss life together. And that's very much what we're doing here right now. And so they have massively succeeded in that. I think the fact that people still come in here every single day, or quite frequently and often, to just share life together. After long days of work, people come in here and just commiserate or talk about ideas and talk about the future, and that's why I love this space so much. I love this space because of the way that it gives me access to other people's brains and lets me have really nice, deep philosophical conversations. And I'm so freaking grateful for that.
I'm a big fan of those too.
Yeah. And, it just and for me, before VRChat, I struggled with finding like my crowd, my people, the people that I want to be around, because I knew the people I want to be around were introverted people. And it's really hard to go into the real world and find introverted people because
they're introverted.
by definition, they're introverted, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so they're sitting at home on their computers. And I remember talking to a therapist I had in the past where I was just like, I don't know how to find my people. I don't think I ever will, because like, how would I? And then I came to this space, and this space turns introverted people into extroverted people. And it's just like, you find those soft, kind folk that do a lot of deep thinking that are normally just sitting on their computers, because like they're still doing that in a way. But now VRChat's made a way for this to be a social experience. We're no longer just sitting behind our computers alone, or just in a Discord call. We're present in front of each other. We're expressing ourselves to each other at a level that you can only achieve through like reality means, I guess. And so for that they're doing very, very, very well. And they're only ever increasing that experience, giving us better IK. Today I got in VR, I'm in open beta, my fingers are better for some reason. Like, I'm like, oh, I like the finger tracking. Like, I could actually do a little peace sign and my fingers aren't like stuck together. And this is like they're constantly improving this, they're constantly improving the way that we could interact with each other. We have eye tracking now and face tracking, and they're kind of elevating the experience as much as they can. That we got like 11 point tracking. People could put more trackers on them, and they're providing the product to more devices, and you can now get it in the Pico store on Quest and stuff like that. And like that's their overall goal. Let's connect people. That's like, and they're doing that very, very well. As to, I think the second half of the question is, what do they have here that is maybe not providing a service? I guess is that
more or
one way to
less.
distill it?
Yeah. Something that maybe you find personally disagreeable, something they can improve on, something that doesn't really, like, maybe it's not like ideal, but it exists and probably has existed for a long time, and maybe a way to perhaps resolve that in some way.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about this recently, which is like we touched upon it a little bit, which is like the onboarding experience is horrendous. It's really, really hard to onboard people into this platform, whether that's like finding the correct friend group, going to public instances and having that experience ruined, but all the way to like the settings and the menus are a mess. Like, I try to bring someone to a VRChat clubbing experience, and it's like a 20-minute process just to go through, like, okay, you need to have an optimized avatar. It's like, in order to get here, and they're like, oh, why do I even need an optimized avatar? It's like, okay, I have to explain to you avatar optimization, why it's important, and like why you like can't roll up into a club in like 500,000 poly avatar or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, now we have to discuss safety settings. And it's like, what's a safety setting? And it's like, okay, well, like, how powerful is your computer? It's like this whole lengthy process. And then it's like menus and sub-menus and action menus, and there's all these different menus, and they all have different things in them, and they all have important things that you have to like touch upon. And there's a learning curve to this. Like, I could understand a learning curve to, a challenging video game like Rocket League. Like, Rocket League has a learning curve because you have to get good. Like, but this is just talking to each other. We're just like, that's what this platform is experiencing each other, being around each other. And why does that have a learning curve? Why is that so difficult? And it's like, you get in the game, your graphic settings are maxed out, your safety settings are not maxed out. Your safety settings, there's no safety settings when you get into VR. And so people go to experience, and they're like, oh, this game runs like shit. Because they have
everything is showing.
They have anti-aliasing is at 8 times and like all that stuff, and it's just like there's nothing that leads people through that process, and it's cumbersome. I've had a friend recently who, like, they left VR for 2 years and they came back in, and they're like, how do I do anything? Like, how do I get into worlds? How do, like, the onboarding process is abysmal. It's really, really difficult to get into this platform. If you don't have a friend that will usher you the way, especially if you go to a public world and you ask people like, hey, how do I do this? And they're like, oh, shut up, you fucking dumb idiot. Like, it's not encouraging to understanding how this place works. That is the one thing I think that they are really missing out on, and they need to pull together.
I really like that answer. I don't think anyone's given me that answer before. I typically ask that question of my guests because most of my guests have been on the platform for quite some time, and it's very interesting to like kind of think about that because like once you've been in VRChat for a certain amount of time, you're not really thinking about the onboarding experience. And though all of us have our own ways of getting into the platform, some people don't have the initial like motivation to learn everything. Like for me, like it was. For me, like my friend, like she didn't drop me into VRChat, but she helped me to kind of like learn the general basics of things, like how to go to different worlds. But I didn't learn too much about safety settings or anything of that sort. It was very kind of like the bare minimum, like the basic thing to kind of get from world to world, to get a new Avi or whatever, to go to like an avatar world or something, and that was really it. But I had to take the initiative for myself because I was so fascinated. I was so fascinated with VRChat when I first got into it. I'm just like, I'm gonna learn everything. I'm gonna log in and I'm just gonna teach myself everything. And I'm gonna make mistakes. It's gonna be awkward, but I'm gonna teach myself things. But I think for a lot of people, they just expect things to work. And if there's too much stimulation, there's too many options, it becomes annoying and troublesome and not worth doing, and then they leave. If not for the people that they encounter in Publix, then for the difficulty of the menus and what everything means and so on and so forth. So that's a really great point. Yeah. It's a really great point. The onboarding process is extremely lacking. I agree completely. So yeah, that's great point. So like, when it comes to just VRChat as a whole, I would like to know, like, VRChat is considered a game, technically speaking, but I personally don't consider it a game. I can actually play both sides. I can argue that it's a platform, it's a social platform, or I can argue that it's a game. So I can play on both sides if I want to, but I think a lot of people approach VRChat as, it is technically speaking a game on Steam. But I'm curious as to I'm curious about your perspective on it after being here for 4 years, and like, do you think calling it a quote unquote game still applies based on how it's evolved over time, or do you think of it something beyond just that?
Yeah, it's. I mean, like, the way that I feel this space and understand it is much more than a game. It's like I don't consider it a game. When it's like interesting when I guess I talk to people about this space, and it feels like a city. Like this is a brand new concept. This thing is like. One thing I find interesting coming into VR is like we lack the language to describe it. We like call things worlds, but world had a name before VR, and we have like instances is a really interesting word. I find that a very interesting thing, and like we have these like avatar, like that was a word before, and like we like attributed that to like having like a kind of a character in a like a web browser or something like that, and so I feel like we referred to this as a game because we lack the new language to describe it as anything else. But to me, this is a social platform. This is something new. This is something like Facebook or MySpace, but it's not at the same time. It's like it brings people together, and it's very, very just brand new to the human experience. I just liken it more to a place. This is a place, or a place that has places in it. And when I describe it to people in the real world, like I'm like, this is no different from the real world. It has differences, but just like I'll talk to people like while I'm at bars, and I'm like, we have the same experience that we're having in this bar right now. I'm like we're all standing in a circle, we're all sharing drinks right now, and we do the same thing in VR, except the person to my right is in Japan, the person to my left is in Europe, East Coast, West Coast, and one of them is a cat.
Yeah.
but it's still the same thing. It's like we're just being with people. I think calling it a game has very limiting factors to it, because then we have to like follow certain rules of like being listed as a game in the Steam store, and like so like it requires certain for like VRChat has to like stick to certain definitions and metrics and the way that it kind of displays itself to the world. It has to kind of like withhold some of the things that are happening here so they could maintain certain platforms and statuses.
For sure.
Yeah, like like
Streaming, for
people
example.
talking streaming.
Yeah,
Streaming is another thing.
that's the easiest example. That's maybe what I thought of, as a streamer myself, obviously. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, basically, it's important for VRChat to be labeled as a game because under that standard, it allows it allows us to express ourselves in different avatars in this space as a game to do certain things on stream under the pretense of it being a game. It's how we kind of circumvent a lot of the I guess the expectations of what we can and cannot do on stream because it's under the pretext of like we are we're donning avatars in the space of it being a game as a whole, and that it gives us certain, I guess, not privileges per se, but I guess benefits because of the basis of like how Twitch has to kind of like write their rules and their terms of service and things like that.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's like it's one of those things where it's just like technology is evolving faster than humanity can create rules and definitions for. And I think this is a really like just blatant example of that. Yeah, like because it's like I want to say like it's legally speaking a game, and it's like kind of like in your way, like where it's like because it's listed a game, they have to do and say certain things on the Steam page or like on the Quest page, and like because there's no new definition for what this is, and I think that's what we need to get to as like a society is we need to figure out what this is. I don't think it's a game. I really don't. It's super reductive to call this space a game.
Yeah.
I'm not progressing, and then I'm not leveling up. I'm not like there's no goals. There's no end game. There's no credit sequence at the end. Like it's so different from any game that I played. Of course, there's games that like give you social experiences or like like the newest Final Fantasy. I understand that at one point you get to this place in the game where there's no more game to be played, and now it's just a social experience. And this space is more of a chat room than anything. I mean, it's in the name, and it's like we don't have a category for that though on the Steam page. Like this is existing outside of any definition. But in order for it to integrate with society, they need to fit it into something. So game makes the most sense for them.
Yeah.
But it's a huge limiting factor, and I think it's actually detrimental to kind of persist and call this a game.
Yeah, I do agree, but to play devil's advocate, what if we considered the experience of basically we're not actively leveling up, we're not actively going on quests, we're not actively trying to have there's no progression, there's no active progression, but in a social sense I think there is, because but I think that only comes with being in VRChat for a long period of time. Like once you have like 1,000 hours in VRChat, I think it's easier to contextualize it in a sense of it being like your goal isn't to like level up, but you've had experiences here, you've built a life here, you've built experiences here, you've built a friend group, like you have like a party party of people that you go on adventures with, or you go to events with. You know, you grow in your knowledge, so you're essentially leveling up in terms of your experience and knowledge and insights about VRChat. You know, it's not like maybe not a numeral per se, but there is a sense of progression in your experience and engaging with this platform. So like, I guess like I like playing with the idea of it being akin to a sandbox type of game, where you can essentially like have your own experience, and like you yourself, like it is what you make of it. Like your experience of VRChat is what you make of it, and that freedom to essentially like carve out your own life in like a game like, let's say, Valheim, or like, you know, at the basic, you know, Minecraft. There's a ton of other like games that are coming out that are very sandboxy, that kind of gives you that sense of like you exist in the world. There may not be any like direct goals, but you create goals. You create the experiences. You meet new people, and through those meetings, those experiences, you're ultimately building a reason to remain here for longer periods of time, because the people that are here are that's your community, and like you're building something with them. You're building this life, and these experiences matter to a degree. Just like in Final Fantasy XIV, I think that's what you're referring to, where like once you play through the story, you know, there's no more story to do, but it does kind of transition to becoming more of a social experience, and like in an MMO sense, and that's the definition that I kind of like to use for VRChat. I like to consider VRChat a massive multiplayer online experience. So that's the terminology that I would use. You know, if I were to argue that this is somewhat like a game. But everyone has their own journey, and we are our own characters. We grow as we experience. We grow as we see more of what's out there, and like it's like we have like, just like out there in reality, there's so much more that we can experience. There's places we can go like out in the world, but there's so much here too that we haven't seen. It's impossible to see everything that exists here, just like it's almost impossible to see everything that there is out there in reality.
Yeah,
it's very similar in that regard. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's I had this thought as you were speaking, which is like VRChat is a game about real life where like capitalism doesn't exist. And it's like,
yet.
It's like, 'cause, you know,
yet.
Like, yet. You know, yet. Yeah, exactly. But you know, because you're saying, you know, like, yeah, we have this, like, you build a party and you go out and these experiences and you do all these things with your friends, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, I do that in the real world. Except in the real world, it's difficult because, like, if I want to go into the city, I have to pay to take the train into the city, and then we're gonna go to a show, and the show costs like $25, and then I'm gonna get drinks, and the drinks are expensive as well. And like, we're here, we get to do pretty much most of it, but relatively for free. You know, of course, there's like the startup cost of like having a powerful enough gaming computer. You know, people joke about calling VRChat the most expensive free game there is. Yeah. Yeah, because like it's like $1,000 headset that I'm wearing, you know, like $500 of body tracking, you know, a $2,000, you know, like almost $3,000 gaming computer and stuff like that. And so, but you know, once you have that, or, you know, for Quest users, all you have to do is like get a $300 headset. Like once you have that, the world's your oyster here. Like you're there's, you know, if you want to throw a show, you don't have to rent out a venue. You know, you don't have to rent out equipment. There's tons of free world, like just like in the sense of events and music events in VRChat. Like there's tons of open worlds that are open to use. You just go there, you meet a friend that's a DJ, and they stream to Twitch or they stream to VRCDN. They punch in the link, and then you shout into the void on Twitter and say, "Hey, we're doing an event," and then people show up, and then without, you know, something that in the real world would cost like maybe $5,000 to do, we could do for free here. And so it's in a way a video game that's emulating real life, except it kind of is real life here as well. There's nothing fake about us having this conversation.
Right.
It's like, this is a very real conversation. We're just like brains meeting and interacting with each other. And yeah, the experience is experience points in VRChat is just real experiences.
Yeah.
That you kind of keep. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to talk about the idea of, people, taking their experiences here, and because a lot of people in VRChat suffer from social anxiety, various social issues with communicating with people, interacting with people, and I like to think that people in VRChat have these experiences here, but I wonder how people can take those experiences here and bring them to real life. And this kind of goes in tandem what we were just talking about, the idea of amassing new experiences in this form that we choose. We choose our physical form here, and that is a representation of us, but we're still amassing new forms of information, new forms of experiences in this form that we inhabit. So no matter what avatar we're using, we're still filling up that container that is our existence, our virtual existence. We're building like a virtual database of a life that we've built here, with the people that we've met and the people that we've lost and the people that we've spent time with and the events that we've gone to. It's a database, just like in real life, of those experiences that we've had out there. The same thing can apply here. So I want to ask, what do you think about the idea, and I guess how feasible it is, and in your opinion, to take the experiences and the lessons that we learn while experiencing this this social platform, this game, however we want to categorize it, and how easy do you think, or how feasible do you think it is for people to take what they've learned here and bring that out into IRL?
Yeah, that's something I've seen a lot, actually. It's not if it's feasible or not. It happens all the time. Of people leveling up their own life in this space, and I've met many people that are like, I was really shy, I was so introverted, I didn't have any friends, I didn't really talk to anyone before VRChat, and now they're some the most bubbly people that and they gain all this self-confidence. And I've heard a lot of people be like, I never thought I would ever go to a rave in real life before. These are things I've heard from people, and they're like, and I just went to a rave last night, and it was one of the best things ever, and I'm going to another one, in a month or two, and it's just people do take the confidence that they're building here and bring it into the real world. Personally, I've had people tell me that they think that I'm really good at talking with people, and I attribute that fully to the conversations I've had in this space and the kind of confidence that I've grown through this space. It's I think I was talking to my mother. I live with my family right now, and I was like, I don't know why, I feel like I'm really good at talking to people, and she's like, that's all you fucking do every night.
Yeah.
I just hear you down there just yapping away, just talking to people. And I was like, oh, I guess you're right. But there was an event that I threw in New York City, and it was piggybacking on ShelterCon. So the club Shelter and VRChat had an event in New York. It was ShelterCon 2, I think this was 2022, I think it was around. And I knew there was going to be a ton of people in the city. I had this venue that I work with that lets me throw events for free, which is really amazing, thing called Wonderville in New York. And so I was like, I think I want to throw a party, a pre-party for ShelterCon, the day before. I reached out to the Shelter people, and I was like, hey, is this okay? Can I do this? And they're like, oh yeah, sure, 100%. I was like, sick. I'm gonna put all my friends on stages. This is gonna be rad. I had a bunch of DJs on the stage that have never played a real life event before, and that was their first time doing it. They were able to take the skills that they had here, apply it to there. But I think the one thing that was really striking to me was there was at least 20 people at this party where not only was this the first music event they were going to, in their life, a live music event. It was the first time they've ever been in a bar. Like these people like in like their like either early 20s or mid 20s. It was like their first time going to a bar, and it was not only was it their first time like going to a bar, it was like their first time going to a city. And like these people never thought they were gonna ever do these things in their life, you know, because they were like for like maybe economic status, or because they were too shy, or they were like just didn't have that kind of confidence. And there were so many people at this event that it was just like their first time really stepping out of their homes, and they didn't think they were going to do that. They thought they were just going to live in their, you know, whatever town they lived in their whole life, because like that's what people around them did. And they, you know, were like, it's through the power of VR, through meeting these people, through the just like knowing that they needed to go to this event and they needed to meet their friends in real life, and they really wanted to hug their friends in real life, that they found the power within themselves to go to this event. And like go to ShelterCon, and a lot of the people like, you know, then like went to the event that I threw, like, you know, prior to that. And then I watched maybe 10 people at this event kind of get really overwhelmed and kind of like have panic attacks and had to escape back to their hotels. And I was like, ooh, that's real. That's really real. That's like that's kind of wild that you took this giant step to get out of your homes, you know, and it must have been so overwhelming. Like, we're in Brooklyn, we're in a shady part of Brooklyn too. Like, it's not like the most glamorous place ever. And so, you know, but then the next day at ShelterCon, they all showed back, and they all came back, and they all had their confidence, and they were able to push through and work through this kind of experience that they had because they knew they needed to do it. And it wouldn't have been it maybe one or two of these people might have experienced that, like, if it wasn't for VRChat. But VRChat is this does empower people to change their lives in a very, very real way. Very, very, very real way. You know, from people that go on and level up in crazy skills and like learn a craft here, to just someone that, you know, gains the self-confidence to like go out, get on an airplane, and go see their friends. Like, that's fucking beautiful. Like, it's the coolest thing in the world. Yeah. That's why I love this place so much. It's so cool.
Yeah, I agree. They're like that sort of experience, and like you kind of witnessing that firsthand, and like I don't like it's been kind of difficult for me to kind of witness that firsthand, with terms of like how VRChat has really made a difference in people's lives, and has actively like made people better than they were before. Because, you know, for me it's hard for me to, like, you know, I meet a lot of people, I interact with a lot of people, and you know, I don't really kind of see like their journey in its entirety. But I do know for a fact that VRChat does have the ability to make a difference in people's lives, and like, even I guess even for me, like, you know, I didn't, like, when I first got into VRChat, I didn't know I'd be doing this, you know, but after a couple of days, weeks of like experiencing VRChat for myself, I came to the conclusion that there was something that I needed to do here. So I mean, for me, I guess there was a little bit of
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's but like, it's hard for a lot of people to see that, but I'm sure there are many people who have had these life-changing experiences where they've been in a VRChat. They were very like shy, they're very introverted, but VRChat has kind of opened them up and allowed them to be, you know, more of themselves, and open up to other people, and just become better versions of themselves, so they can take that experience and transition that to their experiences IRL, which is super, super cool to see. It's really, really wonderful to see. So yeah, that's I love that you like have like a first-hand story of that, because for me it's just really hard for me to see that and witness that with a lot of people, since I do what I do. It's just really hard to kind of track people in that way. But yeah, so I would like to know more about your perspective on, I guess, if I remember correctly, we were talking when we met for the first time. We were talking about like VRChat and like servers and latency and what that all means, and like how they, like, you know, fund all of this, you know, how all this is kind of running and keeping everything afloat. I would like to know your thoughts on I guess the currency endeavor that they're kind of experimenting with, and how feasible you think that will be. I know there are a lot of opinions about this sort of thing, and it's not really the hot topic at the moment, but it was like when it was first announced. A lot of people had a lot of opinions on that. Do you think it's something that will stick around? Do you think it's something that can evolve into something better? Like, what do you think in terms of, like, in terms of keeping VRChat and not having it be, whisked away by financial overlords who want to transform this platform into something, that they want it to be? Like, how do you think that all kind of plays into, the currency, funding what the devs want to do, and I guess the community as a whole? How do you feel about all of those aspects, how they kind of intertwine together?
So there's a lot of interesting things about, I guess, the way that VRChat exists. And the big one is, like, VRChat's expensive to run. It's an expensive company. They employ a lot of people, and those people need to get paid. And in order for, like, the people, they work around the clock, they work full-time jobs for VRChat, and they need to make money.
Absolutely. So
VRChat's a free platform, right? You don't have to pay anything to get on this platform. And so pretty much all of their money, like if you break it down percentage-wise, pretty much all the money that they need to make this platform run is from investors. And over the few years that I've been in this platform, like 4 years, I'm going on 5 years now, I guess. I've seen them go through a few investments. Like, they had the $10 million investment from Facebook, and they had this big $80 million investment at one point. And that stuff runs out fairly quickly. It's expensive. You have to pay for all the servers. You have to pay your staff. It's a lot. And the other part of this all is, we touched upon this earlier. Everything in this place is besides the infrastructure that takes to run this, the SDKs and stuff like that, is all user-generated content. So you have all these users putting in lots and lots of time and free work into creating the game. This game, this platform would be nothing without the people in it, like, quite literally. Like, you need the people in it to interact with each other, because that's the whole platform. You need the people in it to create the avatars, because they don't upload any avatars. Well, they have some of their legacy avatars and stuff like that. And then you need the people in it to create most of the worlds. They do now have some internal creators that create some experiences, but this place is created by us. It's pretty much all of it is created by us. There's there's a lot going on. So, like, what they need to do for the platform to continue to exist, the main thing they have to do is somehow generate money. They started to do some things where they could sort of generate income from the user base. The user base is very small. I'm not sure how big the user base is. It's like, I think it's like only like something like 400,000 users that, like, actually actively use the game, which is not a lot. And I saw someone online, like, they were like, I did the math today, and they're like, if everyone buys VRChat Plus, and if everyone starts like using the creator economy and buying things, it still won't be enough money to pay all the employees yearly. And that's just paying for the employees. That's like outside of, like, server stuff and infrastructure stuff, and, like, I'm sure there's some kind of insurance and stuff like that as well. And so they have the way that they have to right now exist is to get more investment money. Like, that's the only thing that they have to do. They have to do that in order to survive. Without investment money, this place would be nothing. Investment money is really interesting because, like, the investors are playing a very, very long game because there's no financial turnover from the space. There's not. It's running negative every single year.
Yeah.
Every single year that this platform has existed, like it's just running negative. And so there's this very long game, and understanding that like if I invest in this platform, this will probably become the leading VR social experience. And so like the investors are playing this very, very long game, from what I understand, from like the outside of like just like the user experience. I don't work for VRChat. Just from like what I've observed from people around me and understanding the stories that are happening. And from what I understand, the only thing that will get investors to invest more money is if the investors see growth in the population of the users of the game.
Right.
I think this is very, very important for people to understand, that like if we want this space to survive, we have to also support that idea.
Yes.
We need, as users, we need to make this place a welcoming environment. We need to go in and do that kind of outreach in public worlds to bring people into the communities. We need to educate each other, and we need to kind of pick up where VRChat is maybe we might see failing to kind of bring more people on board. And so some other things I think about in that is like we need to optimize our avatars, we need to optimize our worlds, and we need to make this place as welcoming and as environment as possible if we want it to still be here. Because if we don't do that, there's a chance that this place won't exist. We just saw VRChat do some layoffs recently because they were spending too much money, and in this letter that they sent out to like their staff that they shared in public to all of us, they said, we only have like 2 years of money left. And we really need investors. And that's scary. That's really scary. Like, I've invested all my friends here. I've invested my time here in this space. And to see that, like, there is this potential time limit to the end. It's scary. It's very, very scary. Now, going back to, say, VRChat Plus and creator economy, and like the VRChat currency. That is also one of the ways that we can start to give back to the platform. Because like, I would love to not have to exist in this platform where the fate of my existence here is dependent on investors. I would like VRChat to support the people in this space than have to appease to these investors and these kinds of lofty goals and stuff like that. And the way I see that we could do that is like buying VRChat Plus. It's one of the easiest way that we as users can invest in the platform.
Yeah,
it's because like if we could get an
I was just going to say they recently did a poll just asking their user base, how many of you own VRC Plus? They recently did that like a couple days ago. So like they're definitely trying to like figure out like what their user base is investing in, what they can actually like get from their community, and what actions they can take to make sure that they have the funds and the income to do what they want to do. But like, you know, it's they're really trying to like get a pulse on their community is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see the results of that poll? I'm very curious now because I think that would be really helpful to this conversation. I'm just gonna look it up. On Twitter?
Yeah, it was on Twitter.
Okay. I'm just very curious.
Yeah, it's hard to really I answered it while it was going on, so I'm not sure what the final results were, but it looked pretty skewed towards yes. The majority of people did have VRC Plus. So during the time when I answered it, but I'm not sure exactly what it ended up.
Yeah, so I found the poll, and it's do you own VRChat Plus? And there's 3 options. It's yes, no, but I used to, and then no, never. No, never is a really, really interesting one. So 41 out of around 5,000 people, 41% voted yes. 25% voted no, but I used to. And 33% voted no, never.
Damn, that's a third.
That's a third of people that responded.
That's wild.
That's kind of wild.
That's wild.
And it's like, there's a lot of people, and I understand that they're like, I want this to be free and it should be free forever, and it's just like, you know, I joked before that this is a game that is, it emulates real life without capitalism. It's not true. It's like it's not a true statement. People need to work, and people need to put, like, you know, bread on their table and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
A third of people saying no, never. They don't, like, it's like, hey y'all, like, don't you love being here? Don't you love being with your friends? And don't you want to see that thrive and survive? And, like, you know, there was a running joke for a while that people had where it's like Tupper's yacht. People would talk about Tupper's yacht. Tupper doesn't have a boat.
No.
He doesn't have a yacht. They don't
Yeah.
make. They're like, you know, they're not rich. The developers of VRChat aren't rich.
Yeah.
They aren't. It's like they don't get, like, paid exorbitant amounts of money. It's actually like a lot of the developers who take jobs, especially the higher end developers who are really skilled at their work, can make so much more money working for other companies, but they work for this company with, like, not making as much because of, like, their love and dedication to the space, because they understand how beautiful this platform is. So it's really disheartening to see that a third of the people say, no, I will never get VRChat Plus because I want my thing for free and I want it for free forever. It's just like,
It's a bummer.
the money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And, like, and the, you know, and then there's people that complain about, like, oh, like, you know, like, why hasn't VRChat worked on XYZ component of VRChat? Like, what, like, you know, we've been asking for this forever. Like, why don't we have it? And it's just like, well, because, like, we don't pay their paycheck yet. Like, they still have to, a lot of their work and effort has to go into, like, appeasing the investors, which is just the growth of the platform. And that's why we see them develop for iOS. That's why we're seeing them develop for Android and Pico and stuff like that, because the investors, all they care about is big number go up.
Yes.
They want to see the platform, like, the and VRChat is like, okay, this is like, that's, you know, they have this mathematical equation, which is, how do we get more people to get onto the platform? And then they fill that with, like, you know, their answers and stuff like that, just to make that number go up, because that is the only goal that they can push for right now. And if we want VRChat to serve us, we need to be willing to support them, because, like, that's just, like, where it's at. And so VRChat Plus is an amazing start for that. I think, like, VRChat Plus is not a way for them to make more money so they could extract it and go buy yachts. They're not buying yachts. They don't. It's like they want us to pay for this platform. They want us to buy things in this platform so that they can start getting away from investment funding,
Right.
and actually supporting the users that they love. Because, like, the VRChat developers, you know, yeah, they live here as much as we all live here. Like, the people want to go, like, work for VRChat because they love this space. Like, that's what they do it for. Like, I don't think there might be a few now, like VRChat, like, people that work for the company that don't live in this space, but we're surrounded by people that work for VRChat in this space. They're our friends, and they want what we want too. You know, they wish they could work on certain things, but they have to work on other things.
Yeah.
So, VRChat Plus is one way to help support that and help guide them into that goal. And therefore, doing our part to help onboard people onto the platform helps that as well, and convincing others to buy VRChat Plus so that we could start to have this autonomy in this space, so they can start listening to us more. And they do listen to us. They've done so much for us. They do it all the time. And then the other component is the VRChat currency and the economic system in VR. Like, putting in some kind of economy system here. All this stuff is, you know, like we said, like, all these worlds and everything, they're made by the people that, like, are made by the users. And most of it is done by the users in their free time. It's like most people here have day jobs. Like most of the creators and doers of this space, they all have day jobs. They all do things outside, and then during their off hours, they come in here and they make these amazing experiences for all of us to enjoy. I like this world is made by Finns, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. I just want to double check that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Finns made this world. Finns is someone that does work for VRChat as a world developer. They made the new hub world, like the new home world, which is really, really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But this world that we're in, they did not make while on the clock for VRChat. They make this on their off time. And all these club experiences and everything that we experience here, and like most of the game worlds and stuff like that, are made by people in their off time. And I've always had this thought: what if people can dedicate all their time to these experiences? Where would we be on this platform if people can like actually make money here? And like if the artists and event runners and the people in this space can actually dedicate all their time to it, like I could only imagine what this place would look like if people can be supported by, and there are some people that do make enough money to spend their full time working here. I think at least for MStar is someone like that, where like they have enough supporters, like to make enough money so that they could spend their full time developing for platforms like this, and the results show for that. Lucifer MStar's worlds are beautiful. Mm-hmm. Everyone goes to them. Like they're some of the most beautiful worlds, and if we could uplift all of the artists and makers of the space to that level, I mean, like I can only imagine what the experiences would be here. Like we're like the fact that we have all these beautiful experiences and everything that we do here, and it's just so, like there's reasons why we come here over and over again, day after day, every night or whatever. It's fucking magical, and it's magical when people are doing it in their spare time, and like that's crazy. It's like, so the creator economy would be one way that we could start to maybe support the creators in this space. To see that, to like see that kind of reality where people can quit their shitty day job and then commit fully to making our experiences better. I personally, I really want to see that. I would love to see that. It's going to change this landscape. It will change this landscape when people are starting to make money here, and if you have to pay for certain experiences, that I could see why people would get upset about that. We all take the space for granted with the free experiences we get here. But I think we all like forget quite quickly the value of these experiences that we're getting for free, and how much time and effort go into it, and how tirelessly people work for it. And I think to expect that forever, and to, especially the people that were like, I remember like talking on Twitter once about like, just like as a mental thought experiment of a certain like VRChat music festival. I think I was talking about Slyfest, and I was like, hey, just so y'all know, just like putting this idea out there, if all these people got paid for what they do in the real world, like if we ran this event in the real world and everyone got paid, this is how much it would cost. Like if we paid everyone, like yes, everyone here volunteer their time, but if you took all these roles and you made a big like spreadsheet of like what people get paid to do these things in the real world, this is how much it would be. Like personally, I'm a VJ. I do visuals, and that's what I do for my career. I do it in VR, and I do it in the real world. And in order for me to make enough money to live and exist in the real world, pay for rent, pay for like groceries and stuff like that, live in the city I need to live in order to get the work that I work. My rates are kind of high. My rates are $350 a day for prep work and $700 a day for on-site work. Like, that's just how much my job is worth. If I take anything less than that, I'm screwing over other people that do my job, like other people in my industry. Just the going rate of a VJ. And so when you apply the rates of the people that do stuff in the real world to the amount of hours that people put into this space, something like Slyfest would cost easily $70,000 in just man hours. That's not like talking about like how much it would cost to like do venue rentals or equipment rentals or whatever. Like if Slyfest was run in the real world with real life events, like real life venues, real life equipment, paying all those artists, we're talking easily $300,000 experience. You know, because we don't have to do equipment rental and stuff like that here, it's like a $70,000 experience. And we get to experience that stuff for free. And that's beautiful and amazing. I think that's awesome. But it's also, I think, like, I just want to bring to, you know, the idea to people that what we experience here, like, just understand the value of what they're getting for free. Because one day we will have this economy system. And one day people will want to get paid for what they do here. And one day people will want to dedicate their full life experience to creating these things. And I do think people deserve to get paid for that. I think that will be very, very important. If that exists through the VRChat creator economy, I'm not sure, like, or whatever, but like, if we want this place to grow and be the best it could be, that is going to be a component. I just yapped very, very long.
Yeah.
If you have any ideas or questions, like,
No. I knew you'd have a lot to say about that because I know it's a topic that you're very passionate about. Like we were that's what we were getting into when we were chatting for the first time. So like, and that's why I'm like, yeah, we should talk about this on the podcast because I knew you had a lot of ideas, a lot of thoughts to express about this. But I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a substantial lack of appreciation for the infrastructure, for the effort, for the time spent to create this space that we inhabit on sometimes a regular basis. For a lot of people, it's like 5 to 7 times a week, and every time we log in, every time we go to a different world, this is all being held up by investors' money and by the money that's being submitted through people who are subscribed to VRC Plus. But it is literally just, it is investor capital and VRC Plus, as far as I know. It's just those two. And that's not a lot of money considering how much it's required to keep everything afloat, to keep all of these worlds active, to keep all of these instances running, you know, relatively stable with all the events going on, with all the users, you know, being packed into one instance, with just everything that goes on, the constant activity, the constant pinging back and forth from servers to go from world to world, just to keep latency relatively stable. There's a lack of appreciation for that, and they think, oh, this is free. Oh, I don't have to, but you know, the average user is not going to be thinking about it in terms of business capital. They're not going to be thinking of VRC as like, oh, this is a business. Like, but you know, VRChat is in a very unique situation where the company itself is the platform. like VRChat is both the platform and the company. And we're experiencing the fruit of the labors of those people who are dedicating their time and their effort and their creativity in some cases to really make this a platform that can sustain itself. And if we don't respect the effort that's being put into it, if we don't respect the value that we're getting from experiencing this, whenever we want, for that matter. It's not like we can only get into the game at certain times. There is literally, I can't remember the last time there was, significant downtime. Like a maintenance period. I can't remember that ever happening.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like, which is crazy.
Yeah. I don't think there is a maintenance period. I don't think they ever do that. I can't recall either. I know that like New Year's is like the big stress test for them, and like every New Year's, like it will, like their servers will get overloaded and you won't be able to join someone else for maybe like an hour, like at tops, I think. Where VRChat goes down, but it never goes down because like if you don't leave the instance that you're in during those moments, you're still with the people that you're with. So like there's never been a global shutdown of VR. They're like yeah,
which is like that. It's so common for like MMOs to have maintenance periods to like work on like their server infrastructure or to like reorganize or repurpose data or whatever they need to do, like to update things, to improve things. But it's literally just up all the time, nearly 24/7 with like minor hiccups. And we're getting this for free. And that it's like I honestly think like honestly I maybe what I'm thinking, maybe if there was a way for them to adjust their language with regards to like VRC Plus is I think people are resistant to VRC Plus because there's no kind of there is value to be gained from VRC Plus, but it's value that is only really appreciated by longtime users. You're not having to pay like, for example, a subscription fee like for World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. You're not having to pay a subscription fee to get on here. You just can get on it for free. So I think because it's so easy to access this platform, there's a lack of appreciation for the fact that it is up 99.9% of the time. Let's say 99.98% of the time if you want to be like extra specific about it. But the point still stands. It's a ridiculous feat and a lot of fucking money to keep this up as long as it is, and for people to be in and out at all times from all across the world. And I think maybe I like, I know that they don't want to do this. I know that they don't want to like make a subscription fee to get on the platform. I know that they don't want to do that, because if they wanted to do that, they would have done it already. But like, you could argue that the value is self-explanatory. If you've been in VRChat for like at least 6 months on a consecutive, if you okay, I can't even contextualize in terms of like how long you've been on VRChat. Like 6 months could be still a small amount of time depending on how frequently you're on the platform. Let's put it this way: if you've been on VRChat for more than 500 hours and you're like almost trusted level, if you're like a trusted user or you're close to trusted, you have invested a lot of time on this platform. You have either made a lot of friends or you've spent a substantial amount of time on this platform. And if you are a trusted user or maybe slightly below that, then there should be something of an appreciation for what we have. And for so many of these people to be just like, no, I've never invested in VRChat Plus. But who knows? Maybe all these people who said no, maybe all these people are still visitors. Maybe they're still users or new users. Like, who knows? But I think that would have been a more interesting metric. I think finding out how much of their user base is still like where the user base are in terms of their rating, in terms of how much time they've invested on the platform, I think that would be a more interesting metric. But I think they can find that out without having to do a public poll. I think they can just kind of look into a database and figure that out very easily. I don't think that's not something. So I guess they already would know that if we were thinking technically. So it's really a shame that there's just a lack of appreciation and understanding for what we have, and there's so many people who take advantage of it. But the fact of the matter is, if there is a lack of investment, a lack of I guess, we get this for free, but we should be willing to give of what we have, of what we earn, whatever we may be doing, whether we're world creators, whether we have a day job, whether we're avatar creators, to be able to contribute to the sustainability of what we are trying to build because we care about it, especially if people are developing worlds and avatars for it. To not have VRC Plus seems kind of like a slap in the face. It's like let me spend all this time and all this effort making these worlds and avatars, but I'm not gonna directly help finance the ultimate the longevity of this platform because they think it's just going to be around forever. But that's not how business works. And more people, I think, need to understand that. So I'm very hopeful that when people hear this, and people have heard this, that they have a better understanding of that if they didn't have one before. Because I think it's incredibly necessary that if we care about what we have here, then we should be willing to make sure that it stays around and doesn't fall into the wrong hands and becomes a corrupted version of what we have, what beauty and what value we have here, because we've created this. We, like, in our own ways, we've created this. Like what I'm doing right now with you, like I'm creating in this space because I understand the value of what this platform offers. And if I'm not able to do that, that's a loss to me. So, and a loss to many others as well. So I agree with you. There needs to be just a stronger, a better defined understanding of what it means to maintain what we have here. Because it's not going to be around forever, and we should have a better understanding of that. So, thank you for ranting about that. I just had my own little rant in agreement with you.
No.
So But let's quickly talk about like VR technology and where you would like to see it go. The potential that you see in this technology. We'll kind of just start there and see where it goes.
Yeah. Let me just digest for a little second.
Sure.
Yeah, because gosh, I just will want to do like add on to like one little thing to that,
sure.
And just like it's the idea of like, imagine we had a week where VRChat shut down, like a touch grass week. How that would change the ideas of like why people love this space so much, and just the idea of this place going away forever is really really. I think the instant access and the fact that people can come here every day and it never shuts down kind of like has hushed this idea that it's
going to be here forever.
It won't be forever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not a given. That's not like you can't rely on that. But I think about that a lot. I've thought about that a lot, and I've thought about like what happens when this place disappears. And there's some other platforms, but they are, VRChat's been around from what I understand since like 2013, 2014 as an idea and a concept that they've been developing, like a 10-year-old project. And so much time and energy has gone into it, and the infrastructure is unlike anything else that exists. And to invest here, and investing is like by like investing in the people, supporting newcomers, and supporting VRChat as a whole, and their goals is, I think, should be as important to us as it is to them. So, open-ended question of VR technology and where I would like to see it. I think that was it.
Yes.
No, definitely lighter subjects, and I'm really happy to gear shift. So I guess to preface, like, I have a Valve index and I use 3.0 5 trackers, 3.0, 2.0, whatever they are, the newest 5 trackers. And I've had my index for 4 years. Actually got a replacement one recently because my 4-year-old headset didn't like being 4 years old. But I'm still even on the same Knuckles controller. This joystick is not happy at all.
It's always the left one.
It's
it's always
that's why I play Spacewalk everywhere. I don't have to use it anymore. I don't have to think about controller drift. I just walk and I turn with my right joystick. So I've stuck with the Valve Index because I have yet to see a headset that fulfills everything I want it to fulfill. And things that I'm really looking forward to. It's a really nice headset with good audio quality that has eye tracking and face tracking. These are things I really, really want really, really badly. I hang out with people that have eye and face tracking, and it's so cool. It's silly to think about, and like when I think about talking to this to like anyone that doesn't exist in VR, I don't think they would understand that like seeing your friend chew gum and seeing your friend yawn in VRChat is a really fun experience. I don't know why, or like, look over and be like, oh, I see you snacking on something over there. What are you snacking on? Just like the more expression that we could give each other, the better. That's the stuff I'm like very excited for. I'm excited for like camera-based full body tracking or something like that. Like I'm, several times tonight, like I've covered my waist. See if I could do it again. If I could just like fly off into, I can't replicate it. But, using lightweight, like
well,
lighthouse.
there it is.
There we go.
There
oh
it goes.
There we go. Exactly. There we go.
Yeah,
There we go. That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks. That's not a fun experience at all. It's awesome that I could, I got leggies and stuff. Like that's super cool. It's super like I have 4 base stations to achieve the kind of tracking that I really want. I have a fairly big space. I walk everywhere. I do infinite walking, and that requires me to have lighthouses. Requires me to position them in certain places. Requires me to like not have mirrors in my space. Be careful when I'm drinking out of glassware and stuff like that, because they're like lasers are refracting and stuff like that. Like there's I make a lot of sacrifices into my life and my lifestyle. I like, I've been like sitting here and repositioning myself, and I'm like, oh, I want to sit with like my leg over, oh, but that's covering my tracker, and I make all these small, tiny sacrifices in my life. Sacrifices.
Yeah.
These are fucking
first
the most
world
first
issues.
world problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is the most first world issues that you can ever have. It's like, oh no, my instant teleportation to see my friends is slightly ruined because I can't drink out of a glass cup. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's ridiculous. But I would I had a friend that was like working on this idea of doing camera-based full body tracking. So you'd put like 2 webcams in your space, and then you use like AI to look at like your body and like how to like this theoretical AI system that could do full body tracking without any tracking pucks on you at all. And there's actually Cyan Puppet, I think it's called, the company. There's a company now that is going to have a free, I think, open source solution for camera-based full body tracking, and it will work in real time. That to me is very interesting. I would love to, I would love to not have to strap up to strap my I'm 6-point tracking, so I got my headset, my controllers, my feet, and my waist. And the battery life on all of these, I'm cabled with my headset, so I don't have to worry about that. But the battery on my hands, my feet, and my trackers is pretty much, luckily they're all kind of the same. But I get like 4.5 hours of VR time before I have to like plug into batteries and stuff like that. And that could be limiting, again, first world problems. But sometimes I want to do a 9-hour session in VR. Sometimes I want to be in here for 12 hours straight. Yeah. And it's like it sucks that like at one point in the night I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit on my couch, plug in everything, and sit here and charge up and unplug and worry about like if I break this controller or if I break my like stuff like that. That then I'm like down in an investment or whatever. I have to then buy another like trackers and stuff like that. Luckily, I've never broken my trackers. Fucking knock on wood. I don't know if there's wood around me. Something like that. There we go. And so I see as a really cool future device. I know a lot of people will be like, I don't want to put cameras that are looking at my whole space all the time. So I could understand that.
Yeah.
But if everything's being rendered and done on locally, like I would be very, very excited about that future. Just like trackerless tracking. Lighter headsets, that'd be nice. They have this building headache every so often. The index is quite heavy. People call it a toaster for a reason. And wireless, I guess. Wireless would be really cool. I don't mind being wired. I like having zero latency and having no compression, like video compression issues. The wire is not the biggest thing for me. But anything that just kind of like uplifts and brings us to better full expression of ourselves. And I want to, like, it would be cool to have elbow tracking and chest tracking and knee tracking. I don't want to like have more fucking trackers strapped to me. That sounds like a nightmare. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how the dancers do it. Dancers with 11-point tracking. It seems like a nightmare. You know? Mm-hmm. And then there's the people that do like the... Okay, I met someone recently. Can't remember their name. They're the most kitted out I've ever seen anyone. They're this little bunny furry and the like awesome avatar. And they had it all. They were like all the trackers that they could put on their body. They had face tracking, eye tracking, breathing tracking, where their breath, their like chest would rise and fall. I was like, that's insane. And then they also had a brain-computer interface, like this band that they wore around their head. And whenever their gamma waves would go up or down, whichever way, it meant they were concentrated more. And so if they concentrate more, their pupils would dilate. And then they had like some other things that were like done to like their ears. And so their ears were controlled by their brain. I was like, that's fucking cool. That's really cool. And so and then they're like, yeah, and then I want to have like a sweat tracker as well, or like, you know, or they have a heart rate tracker. That was the other thing that they had. And when their heart rate gets to a certain level for a certain amount of time, their like face goes red. And I was just like, that's you're so integrated into this space.
You are committed.
How about yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah. How about yourself in terms of where you want to see the technology? I'm very curious about.
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts on that.
Sure. My thinking about it is that, you know, I'm looking for anything that's really going to bring about a more immersive experience, whatever that may look like. Mm-hmm. Obviously, technology is going to improve. We may have these Vive trackers. Like, I also use Vive trackers. I also have an index, so like I know what all that feels like. But like it's very much a like anything that's going to get us closer to a more seamless immersive experience, I'm all for. I'm honestly like hopeful that things will become lighter. Obviously, like technology will improve. Mm-hmm. Trackers will always have to use trackers to some degree, but they will become lighter. And I would also think that as cybernetic technology, things like Neuralink become more feasible in a more kind of commercial sense, not just for medical purposes, but more available commercially. I think that's going to revolutionize how we access the internet in general, and how we interface with different platforms such as VRChat. So. I'd like to think that we won't have these toasters on our faces anymore. We'll have glasses that we put on, or we'll have contacts that we put in our eyes, and it will interface with the Neuralink that we either put on, like Black Mirror type shit. We'll either put the thing on our side of our temple, or it'll be integrated into our bodies. One way or another. And, some people will resist that, some people will embrace it, but one way or another, there will be alternatives. Like, there'll be cheaper options, such as glasses, but, for people who want the more higher-end experiences, they'll have the more, like, Black Mirror-y type technology with, like, Neuralink implants and things like that. So I think once we kind of once we're able to integrate with our technologies a lot better, like we can access our phones with our minds essentially, or be able to have like an augmented reality type experience, mixed reality type experience with whatever we have connected to our eyes, whatever glasses we may be wearing, or whatever piece of tech we may have connected to our head or implanted into us. It's going to make the experience a lot more seamless. We'll be able to maybe have more visceral feeling experiences where we won't have to rely on things like phantom sense, where that's not really a reliance, more so as something that you either teach yourself or you just innately have. But ideally, I would like to have an experience that transcends the five senses and allows us to have that sensory experience within a I guess, virtual space. I mean, VR, virtual reality may evolve into something different, but I think it'll still be virtual. To some degree, maybe we'll have another name for it in the future, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to create integrative technologies that will be accepted, because people create avatars and they customize their avatars the way to make them look the way they want to look in these virtual spaces. So there are people who are already like customizing their own personal like their ideal form in virtual reality. Who's to say that won't happen, cyberpunk style, like in real life, where people will modify their bodies to have these more visceral experiences. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking at, really.
Yeah. I mean, so I think we're already there in terms of like cyberpunk of like modifying your body. Like, so like my trans experience, like the one thing I do like estrogen pills and I do patches, and whenever I put a patch on, I'm always just like, I feel so cybernetic, like it feels like such an augmentation to myself, because like I'm putting this thing and I wear it on my skin every day, and I'm just like, I always like love the idea of like biohacking, or like getting to the future of like the people that would get like implants of like magnets in their fingertips so they could feel like electric fields and stuff like that. And so like putting on my patch, like twice a week, I'm just like, I'm there. I feel so cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's the beginning of body modification, and body modification already happens. In different ways, like with tattooing and piercings and things like that. But without a doubt, we're gonna get to the point where it becomes cybernetic, where we get like it becomes more.
Yes.
When we get to that point of like augmenting our strength, our bodies, having parts that we didn't have before. And it's going to start with the medical field. It's going to start with the medical field and the porn industry. It's going to be, and that's how technology evolves. It always has, and it always will.
It always does.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I guess, so I definitely was speaking about technology, about how I feel about VR, and to kind of bridge the what you see in the future, and to where we are currently. The one thing I do really wish we had, and like one thing I would really love to see, is like right now, VR, especially like VRChat, but most of VR is a bedroom experience. It's an experience that you have in just like one room, pretty much like solitarily, like one room in your house, and you're disconnected from everything else. And one thing I wish that I had was like the ability to, one, like traverse my whole house. Like I want to bring my friends with me everywhere when I'm doing most of my like things throughout the day. Like chores and cooking and like just like existing, I feel like would be so much, like for me personally, I would love to bring my friends along with me and continue to have, my favorite thing is conversing with my friends. That's what I love the most. And if I were able to integrate VR into my IRL experience through something like augmented reality, I think that would be really, really rad. Or sometimes like I'll be on Discord on call with my girlfriend, and she'll go on a walk, and I'm just sitting on my, like, or I'm like laying in my bed or something, and I'm like in a Discord call and I have my AirPods in, and I'm like, I tell her, I'm like, I feel like I'm in your pocket right now. I feel like I'm like a little tiny being sitting in your pocket as you like go on this walk. And I was like, have these thoughts of like, it'd be so cool if you could wear like a little camera on your like, like on your shirt or whatever, and I could actually experience that with you, and I could feel like I could be there with you. Or like when I take the I take the train into New York City a lot, and it's like an hour and a half train, and I'm just like scrolling on my phone, like on Instagram or Twitter, and like, cause like I want to travel light into the city. I don't want to like bring a backpack with like a laptop, because like I'm going to a rave, or I'm going to like a networking event. I'm going somewhere where like I don't want to be carrying like my like laptop with me or something. And if I could like put on a headset to like both like maybe do work, or just like integrate with my friends, just like bring my friends on that train ride with me. I would love to start to bridge VR with my IRL through something like augmented reality. I want to go on a walk, but I want to bring my friend with me, even if they live in Germany or if they live in like Australia or something like that. It's like my friends are such a huge part of my life, but yet they are still so separated from my life. And I wish I could bring them into more of my experiences, and that's something that I think will be very beautiful and exciting when we start to like really. I don't know. I have friends that like they'll like work for like Amazon or like a package delivery company, and they'll hang out on Discord call with us when they do that, and then they're going around, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool way of integrating both lives. We do have some technologies for that. But to have people sit next to you on the train, you know, or like have someone like just more presence. Like a Discord call is okay. I don't do well with like a 10-person Discord call. I start to get overwhelmed.
Yeah,
it's really nice when I could, like in VR, it's different because like I could pull someone aside. We could go somewhere else. I can put on my bubble. There's spatialized audio. I think is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that's the future I want to see, is like a further integration of both worlds. I've already very integrated both of my worlds a lot. Like I know some people come to this space to have a separate experience from what they experience in reality. I come into this space to accentuate my reality experience, to augment it. Like I live my life plus this. Like VRChat is like part of my life plus my reality life, and they both are integrated. And I get out of my house and I see my VR friends IRL as much as I can and stuff like that. And I like bridging those two experiences a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like a very strong possibility. I think I mean we're kind of already in a state where we have access to mixed reality. You know, Apple's messing around with that with the Vision headset.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's definitely out there. It's definitely feasible, and I think it's only really a matter of time. I certainly hope so. Mainly with like we're very far away from sensory integration. I think like actual like phantom sense like experiences. I think we're pretty far away from that still, because it's pretty invasive. Like if you consider like the possibility of linking your transferring your senses to a more virtual experience. I think it's pretty risky to do that, but I think it's possible. I want to believe it is possible in some way somehow. But that's really what I'm hoping for at some point. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I think both of our ideas and our desire to kind of integrate more so with more so integrating with reality, me more so integrating with like having a more kind of full virtual experience while I'm here. I think we want the same. We want very similar things. I think. So yeah. What is your thinking about, like, very very briefly? How do you feel about the idea of potential addiction to VRChat and virtual technologies?
Ooh, yeah. I know some people just think that like maybe like being in here so fully is unhealthy. And I could kind of maybe understand some merit to that. Like I do know some people where they like tell me the amount of hours they have in this game, and they tell me how long they've been in this game for. I'm like, oh, you spend like 14 hours a day here, and you have been spending 14 hours a day here, and you're not doing anything else. Yeah, it's like it's hard to know what this stuff is doing to people's brains. I think about that sometimes. Like someone that doesn't have a fully developed frontal cortex, like what is this space doing to them? And and we don't have any studies about that kind of stuff, and that's very very questionable of like what this is doing to people's brains, if it's healthy or not healthy. Like I said, I think this is a net positive. I think like people have been growing and learning and getting getting through like certain things that used to hold them back, like inhibition to get out and see people. I've known people in the past where they're like, I prefer life in VR and I don't want to meet people. But for the most part, if you're social in this space, like I've seen more often than not, people want to meet each other's friends. Like people do want to touch grass at some points in their life. and they are really happy when they do. So it's I see VR as a really good alternative to reality, especially as it is now. It's really expensive to exist in reality. It's like it's hard to get out there. It's can be dangerous for some people. I don't think it's going to be that, like, we're going to see more people get into the space, and we're going to see people that live their whole lives here. And I think people can live fully enriched lives here. Like, I don't think that's that big of a problem. I think some people will look at it and be like, that's bad, and your, like, alternate lifestyle is bad. But, like, I don't know. People thought the same with, like, people that read books. Like, I know people that are, like, that read books. Like, that's what they do all the time. Like, they're really into reading books, and, like, in any moment they get that's not working or whatever, they go home and they read books. Well, it's not very much not different from what's going on here. Like, they're, like, using some kind of technology to augment their experience, to have a different like to transport them somewhere else, and not be, you know, on Earth for a moment, or not be, like, in physical reality for a moment. And we don't look at people that overread books as, like, having an addiction problem. I think maybe if VR starts to get in people's way of, like, surviving, like, if, like, people are rotting in these spaces, that we might start to see an issue, where it's like that people, like, lack the drive to get jobs or something like that. Maybe that's an issue, but I don't even know if that's true. I see VR as a net positive, definitely. I don't know. The world's so fucked up. Let's just let people have fun and enjoy it. And if living their full lives in VR is enjoying it, I don't see a problem with that. I see that as, like, there's more unhealthy addictions. Like, people could get into, like, you know, drug addiction, or get into, like, you know, like, augmenting their lives in much more horrid ways. I think VR, like, existing a lot in VR is much healthier than some alternatives. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I really want to hit you with, like, another kind of an addition to that question. Yeah. I want to but I don't know if I should. Like, okay, so fine, I'll do it. Regardless of time, I feel like we haven't even, like, I'm not even, like, halfway through, like, everything that I want to talk to you about. I'm not even halfway. Like, we're just getting to the halfway point, and I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So my curveball to you is, you said, like, the world is already fucked up, you know, people want to have fun here, let them enjoy their lives here. You say that people can, like, live their lives here. It'll be like there's something to be said about being able to be safe, and people who may be, you know, disabled, or people who just may be unable to experience, go out into the world because they're for whatever reason they have to stay, you know, bedridden, or just stay at home for whatever reason. So there's definitely a net positive to having access to platforms like VRChat, for example. But you know, in terms of talking about addiction, you know how VRChat can definitely help people and be a comfort to people. You know, there are many people who are on VRChat who are essentially taking advantage of their time here by ultimately not maybe being addicted to VRChat, but maybe also being addicted to VRChat while also being addicted to other substances, because they're here and all they know is to get high, or to drink all the time, and to be around these people all the time. So, you know, it may be a bedroom experience, but there's still the aspect of, like, the ease of getting access to various substances to, you know, to kind of peripherate the idea of another form of addiction that may not be VRChat, but may lead to something else.
Yeah. You know, for a while, people saw, like, alcoholism as a problem in VR, and, like, there was, like, especially in the party scene, like, there was, like, you know, especially during COVID, you know, there's a lot of people running around, and like, it was hard to be at a party without hearing someone like go shots, or
cheers.
You know, it was like cheers. You know, someone's like, shots. Did someone say shots? Like, do a shot with me. And there, like, definitely was moments that I've seen where there was, like, massive alcohol abuse, and there still is. Alcohol abuse, I think, is, but I think I see alcohol abuse as just like a fact of life in general. Before VR, I used to go to like frequent a bar in my town, and I went there because I didn't really have many other places to go, and my brother would bring me there and kind of bring me to his group of friends there, and I was like, damn, this is sad. It's like, this sucks. And I think alcoholism is just a problem of reality, and there's definitely like the anti-beer goggle effect of VR, where people can drink more heavily here for some reason, where like for some reason wearing a headset makes you feel less drunk than you actually are. I, for the most part, like some of the heavier drinkers that I knew in VRChat eventually stop. And there was a time when I saw tons of drug use. There's a time when like tons of people were doing psychedelics and doing other drugs, and there was a lot of, especially during COVID, there was a lot of drug dealers in VRChat. They were like, "Hey, like
that's something I've heard of.
I know
before.
how to mail you drugs."
Jeez, okay.
You've never heard of?
I've never heard of drug dealers being in VRChat.
Yeah, no, it was really kind of crazy, where someone's like how is everyone getting like acid? And it's like, oh, you talk to this person, and then like, you know, they send you an envelope, and there's acid in there, and there's like just people that were peddling it. And funny enough, I was watching them disappear, and I was like, where did all the drug dealers go? And I was like, I wonder if moderation took a hold of it. I wonder if there was VR cops. Like, what was going? Like, what? But like, it was a thing, and that I saw a lot. I used to see a lot more, and I started to see a lot of that kind of slow down. I think yeah, I wonder if like some of it is like people dying from like drug use or alcohol use, and that's why I don't see those people around anymore. But like, I've seen most people I've seen a lot of my friends quit drinking, quit smoking like weed, and like kind of like getting their lives together, just because they understand that the longevity of this place like won't support that. We've had lots of talks in the scene about like alcohol use. There's a few times when like the whole like at least in the music scene, where everyone was like, hey, we all have to sit down and like talk about this, and there'll be lengthy discussions on Twitter. Like Fia has even made her own video about the alcohol abuse in VR. Yeah,
I've seen that.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a problem that solves itself. I don't know. I don't see as much anymore. I don't. It used to be much worse. Like I used to like, and personally, I remember when I was like drinking like a lot more, because it's just easy and it's a social thing to do with each other. Like everyone's doing cheers, and there's a societal pressure to do so. But I've seen that like people walked back a ton. But I don't know. I don't go to the drinking worlds anymore, and I haven't been to a drinking community in a minute, and maybe it's just as bad as it always has been.
Yeah,
but I think that's just out of my preference.
Yeah, I haven't been in one of those worlds either. You know, I only bring it up because it's kind of, I feel it's just kind of an ever-present thing. But I could be mistaken about that. Maybe it has decreased. Maybe it has kind of waned over time. But yeah, yeah. But, I think it's important to bring that up because, there's still people who kind of engage in those sorts of activities. And I think it's worthy of just a bit of discussion, kind of briefly at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the scene, I'd like to talk to you about SANCTUM and your work there and
cool.
and that kind of experience that you've kind of cultivated there. So how did you get involved with SANCTUM, and what has that been like for you?
Yeah.
And actually, can you explain what SANCTUM is for people? Actually, can we start there first?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So SANCTUM is this club that I run, that me and a bunch of friends run together collectively. It was originally an idea created by this person, Muzz, who is this drum and bass artist from Monster Cat. And they came into the space and they saw this awesome stuff, and they're like, I want to do something here. And the way that they've always worked in the world is they build teams to kind of make like his reality as possible by like bringing people together and paying them, and kind of like, you know, getting the best of the best people to come together to make these things happen. And so SANCTUM is this drum and bass venue, primarily drum and bass music. We do more music than that. And it's been going for 3 years now. The way that I got into it was, so I VJ in the scene. That's like primarily what I do here in VRChat as like the creative outlet that I have here. And like 3 years ago, Muzz found this host, this like person that will like help like put the events together. Found this world creator. The host of at the time was Melon Slices. And they got this world creator named Pameth, incredible world creator and designer. And then like Muzz was just building this like big team, and went to Melon Slices. I was like, hey, I need VJs. Like who who, I don't know everyone. Like who should we get? And Melon Slices said that they should get Juno, who's a creator in this space. They kind of taken a step back in VJing, and then myself to drive the visuals of the system, and like create this idea of like, we're going to start a Patreon, like people will support us on Patreon, and you'll get like a payout like a little bit like every month, which has never really exceeded like $100 a month, and it's been kind of toned down a bit. But I was like super very very excited. I was like, cool, I get to make the art that I like, and I also will get supported from it, kind of like for the first time ever in this scene. And since then we brought on more and more people onto the team. We had like, our first venue was this thing called the Reactor, which was like this cylindrical screen with like this kind of like spinning components around it. It looks like this like a kind of like nuclear reactor kind of thing, and it was a very interesting design to try to do visuals on. I was primarily doing visuals on flat rectangular screens, and the stuff that I like to do is the more stuff that is like extraordinary or like has multiple screens, and I saw this idea of doing the cylindrical screen as like a very interesting, inviting idea, and I realized that I could do some interesting stuff onto it. Me and Juno collaborated. We figured out that we could like make stuff look like it was 3D. We had this like whole thing where we could bend the visuals in a way that flattened them on the cylindrical screen so it looked like stuff was inside of it, and it was really really awesome and exciting. And so like the Reactor has gone through a couple iterations. We would like create like better lighting for it. We added lights in Reactor at one point, and then we were like, we're gonna like just wanted to see it grow more and more and more. And so a couple years ago we created the Cathedral. Like we're bringing more team members on, and so we have this giant cathedral that you walk into. You like walk into the space, you take an elevator down, it opens up this giant cathedral with these big door opening ceremony with this angel that has a sword in like closing and locking the door, and like everyone gathers in this waiting room, and then like when it's time for the event to start, this angel comes alive, takes the sword out of the door, and the door opens to this giant fucking cathedral. And we love the theatrics of it. We love like doing a little bit more than just like a box in a basement with lights or whatever. We like kind of, you know, like, which are also amazing experiences as well. I definitely don't want to knock, you know, the VRChat experience, but we definitely were trying to do a little bit more. And the one thing that we really pride ourselves with is our technology that we put into it, and like pushing the possibilities of VR. And so when the cathedral was created, we made a new reactor, and in that new reactor room we figured out how to take over the lighting of all the avatars, and so we made everyone look like they were in a singular space being lit by the space itself. There had been real-time lighting systems in the past, of course, but like we really wanted to like make a unified collective experience where it was like we were just really just trying to push the boundaries of this space. And then we like created another like room called the chapel, and the chapel became our like community like meeting center where we have like open decks and stuff like that. And That's one space that I got to spread my wings as like an art director, and I got to like craft a space like as it being. All these places in VR are so cold and blue and concrete, and I was like, as I live in this space, I just want warmth. And so I was like, hey, like when we make this space, can we please make it orange? Can we like have it have an amber glow? Can we put couches and rugs in this chapel? And that's something that the team did do, which I think is really beautiful and amazing. And I was really happy that they went into my direction with it. And then we founded our third venue, Alter, which is this has a DMX lighting system, and we brought on ARIC, which does amazing, incredible DMX lighting work, which is like having lights that move around but is controlled by someone. And we push the boundaries there as well in terms of the lighting system, because like we're like there's been lights and moving lights in the worlds before, but no one had figured out a way to make the world react to the lights, to make things glow appropriately as they would glow if you put the lights. So we had our team buckle down and figure out how to create that, how to make it work, and stuff like that. And we released that, and we were really happy when people embraced it and they're like, this is really, really cool. And it even inspired AC Chosen, the person that makes VRSL, which is like the lighting system that everyone uses in VR. Like we showed them how we do it, and then they figured out a way to do it themselves, like do like similar to what we were doing but more efficiently in the way that they know how. And then we watched as like the lighting throughout VRChat like kind of improved throughout, and we were, you know, we pride ourselves in like kind of pushing the boundaries and bringing people to these ideas that this stuff is possible, and then watching the entirety of the scene level up through that. Like we're like, you know, like we love being this giant theatrical thing, but we also like the thing that we adore the most is like showing people what's possible in these spaces and having them implement it and watching the entire scene get better. And it's something that we try to do in ourselves, is we try to push these boundaries in order to kind of push those changes. You know, I'm definitely not saying that SANCTUM takes all the credit for that, because we don't, but it's something that we try to do. We just want to put on extraordinary experiences. And so right now, we took our reactor, our flagship venue, and we revamped it again. So we're at reactor version 3 right now, and this is my baby. This is where I'm very, very excited and happy. We wanted to be extraordinary. I wanted to, like, I didn't want to just do the normal stuff I was doing with VJing in the space. Whenever I VJ in VR, I always want to level up and grow and get better at my skills and do something that's extraordinary. And I concocted this idea of creating a stereoscopic screen in the reactor. So we have this cylindrical reactor, but inside of it is a stereoscopic screen, so sending an image to each eye. And then I have a program that allows me to generate 3D visuals and then send it through VRCDN as a stereoscopic image, so when you look at this reactor, it looks like everything is inside of it. And we've created a system so that like the visual plane inside of the reactor rotates to your experience. So each person, like the screen that's in the cylinder is always facing you, so it's always perspective correct. And then we have like the lights in the side rooms are control. Like I get to control all those lights, and then we have these big blinder lights next to the reactor that I also get control. And it's just this giant toy. And my team that I'm so entirely grateful for, you know, the team that I'm a part of. That's not I don't own it or anything like that. It's this collective team. I'm so grateful and humbled that they took this crazy idea that I had to create this experience. Now that when people watch the shows that we put on in my visuals, they stare at this reactor and they can't comprehend what's going on. People are like, oh, you're just putting mesh images in the reactor, or if you have a particle system in the reactor, it's like no, it's all streamed visuals, and that's something I get to create magic. I get to create experiences that even some of the most seasoned people in this space don't know how it works. I love it so much.
I can tell. Yeah, I can tell. There's definitely a lot of passion behind it, and I mean, honestly, like, I mean, that's really what this all is. Creating in VRChat, there has to be some level of passion for it, to do it for. I mean, as long as you have done it, and you know, it's definitely necessary to be excited and to be wanting to kind of continue to grow and improve at it. So I can definitely feel that emanating from you in your excitement, your explanation from it. That is for sure. So how do you determine what is successful? Like, how do you determine whether, you know, SANCTUM has been successful? And I guess how have you determined whether, you know, a certain venue is worthy of an upgrade? And how do you kind of measure the level of success that a venue has, or that an event has, in the context of like what you're creating? And I guess, like, let me clarify my question. How do you determine the success of a venue in terms of like the event itself, and how do you determine what is a successful event for you?
So I guess the way that like our team has like internalized what a successful venue is like, are we wowing people? Like, that's like one thing. We want people to come in and we want people to be wowed, and we want people to have an experience that they feel like they're not getting elsewhere. Let me think real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we feel like a venue is losing its spark, or people are not showing up, or people are just like, yeah, that's, it's kind of old news. Like, that's when we decide, okay, we need to take it to the next level. Our personal successes come from the execution of our ideas. Our team is super, super bright. And I would like to shout out the team real quick, of the people that work there. May is our host. Juno is our project lead right now. I'm doing visuals. We have Arek doing DMX lighting. And then we have Pameth, Swa, and Mixie on world development. AC Chosen has come in to help us as well. And then we have a whole dance team. I wish I could name them all. Steph, Data, Hackabine, Zia, Ellie, so many countless people that make this experience so incredibly amazing. Raz is another person who's helped us with some of the shader dev work for dancers and stuff like that. And every one of us, and all of them, are some of the most incredible and talented people that I know, and have a finger on the pulse of what's possible in these spaces, and then through that have ideas of what they know is possible to do in VR, but that's not being done yet. And I think like that's what drives us, is these concepts and ideas, where like Arek would be like, hey, our lighting in Alter is really, really good, but I know we could do it better, and I know that like it's possible to like achieve like moving shadows. I know we could do these things, and I want to push us to do it. And then we all kind of come together and be like, is this what we want to do? Have we fulfilled all of the other, like, our whole to-do list of everything else? And then when that is a yes or whatever, we crack down to doing those things. Or we have such an amazing team that we can work on many things at the same time. So when we're working on developing one idea, there's someone that like isn't doing something because they can't like work, like someone, Arek is not a world dev, or they are world dev, but they don't world dev for us fully, and they're like, I could work on our lighting system. And so people we kind of spread out, toy with these ideas, toy with these concepts, and then bring them to the team and being like, I know I could do that. And then we trust that person and we let them explore those ideas, and then we launch our worlds. And so our personal successes come from those launches and those events that we put on, and we get personal enjoyment when we're like, holy shit, look at what we made, isn't this incredible? Then there's like, there's like venue success, or there's like the show success, which is so nebulous in this space right now of VRChat, because like no one's really making money. And a full instance doesn't, like we would like to have a full instance. That's something that we would like to see. And sometimes we don't see that. Sometimes we have an event, even with our incredible technology and the credible lineups that we have on, like sometimes the events end and there's only 45 people in the world instead of 80 people throughout the whole event. That's kind of signifies to us that we need to improve. But for me, the goals of the event scene in VRChat should never be getting a full instance. It doesn't have to be that. To me, my success is creating amazing art with my friends. And I'm happy when I could do that. I would also like to share that with as many people as possible, but it's not super necessary for me, I think. I think at the end of the day, when I get to make incredible art with my friends, that's the successes I look for. That's why I do this. Is to level up with my friends and grow together and push the boundaries and do more than we did yesterday.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a fine answer. Thank you. So to kind of move to kind of piggyback on that, what does it take to to what degree? How to ask this? To what degree did it take you to get comfortable enough to do VJing? I guess at what point did you know that you were good enough at VJing that this is something that you wanted to do? And I guess what was your kind of moment where it was just yeah, I want to do this, and this is something that I'm really passionate about? And when was that moment?
Yeah, I guess I could answer two parts of that, or I have two different answers for that. So I got into VJing. The little origin story of how I got into VJing. So I went to that event, that VCat after party, when I saw all these people doing these crazy things, and I knew I needed to be a part of the event world. I didn't know how that was going to manifest. I had no idea how it was going to manifest other than going to it, but I knew I wanted to work behind the scenes somehow. And I saw this club called Ghost Club. That's a Japanese club, and they had this version of the world back in, they had a world in 2020 where they had these lights on the walls, that were cascading in a way. This is before we had audio link. And their lights were controlled with MIDI control. So someone using a MIDI controller to control the lights in the world. And they posted about it on Twitter. And I was like, that's so cool. I would love to somehow run the lights in a VR venue. I don't know how I would do that, but I would love to get there. And maybe a week or two after that, this person, Miss Stabby, reached out to me and said, hey, I saw that you would want to do lights or visual something in VR. Would you do visuals for me at the show that I have coming up? And I have never done visuals before in my life at this moment, but I went to college to study audio engineering, and I had worked at events as an audio engineer, and I had been around people that did visuals, and they sometimes have let me they're what are you doing there? And they're like, oh, I'm doing the visuals. I'm like, you got a MIDI controller? And they're like, yeah, do you want to mess around? And it's I've twisted knobs and pushed buttons before to kind of on systems that other people created. But I've never done it myself. And so this person reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to do this? And I was like, I've never done that before. I don't know if I can. And Miss Stabby was like, well, if you don't do it, I'm just going to put GIFs on the screen. And I was like, well, if that's your bar, I could probably do a little bit better than that. And so I downloaded this free software called GL Mixer, super janky software. me and Miss Stabby sat down, found a bunch of content, just ripped a bunch of content from YouTube, and found a bunch of interesting looking GIFs that were like kind of like artsy and aesthetic. And I had been to enough shows and I've worked enough events, and I understood. And she was spinning chiptune music, and one of the reasons why I met her is like I had been involved in a chiptune scene in the real world, and so I've seen what people have done for visuals like that before, and I was like, I think I can pull something off. At that point, everything that I knew was happening pre-recorded. We weren't doing live visuals yet or anything like that. And so we sat in a Discord call, and like she VJ'd and streamed me her music, and then on my end I did visuals kind of real time, but I recorded it and then I sent it to her and she packaged it together. Then I went to this event. It was called Virtual Bass. Funny enough, the world was made by Pamath, who works on a lot of the worlds for SANCTUM now. And they had screens everywhere, but they had just the same content that was copied on all these screens. And we did this show, and I watched, and they also, like, the one thing they also did was they would pull pixel colors from this gosh, I'm getting so ahead of myself. This world, it was on a giant floating spaceship flying through clouds with these giant engines that had electricity surrounding them and all these lights and stuff like that. And they were pulling the color of the electricity around these engines and the color for the lights from the visuals. And so I watched, I went on stage with Stabby as the set was played, and we kind of danced and stuff like that. And I watched my visuals be broadcasted on all these screens and affect the world. And I was like, holy shit, I am painting on the platform that I love so much. And like, there was for the first time, I wasn't just going to other people's worlds, but my art was affecting the world. And there was a piece of me that was being broadcasted and emanated through the world itself. And that was the magic aha moment for me, where I was like, this is cool. I want to do this. I want to do this forever if I can. I love this a lot. And it just kind of hit something really deep where I was just like, this is fantastical. This is amazing. I know not many other people are having this experience, and this is something I want more of. And then the second aha moment for me, there's a few events after that. Me and Miss Stabby had a close relationship, a close working relationship. We teamed up with VRCDN at one point. We did the first VRCDN powered live DJ VJ set, where Miss Stabby streamed her DJing to me, and I packaged that up with my visuals, and we did that all live. And for all we knew, that wasn't happening yet. Apparently, it had been done before in the past, but we didn't it was being done in Japan, because they have really good internet infrastructure to facilitate that. Mm-hmm. We had not seen it done in the Western world low latency before. And so that was this magical moment where I just felt like we were pushing the scene, we're progressing, we're doing things that have never been done before, and we're really just kind of uplifting it. So that was another aha moment for me. And then the big one was VRCDN had this festival that they ran on a screen that was a screen setup that mimics the screen setup of Ultra Music Festival, which is one of the biggest giant music festival IRL. And they had this huge screen with all many different components split up into all these different little screens. And I've never done anything like that before. And it's something that happens at music festivals in the real world, where you have all these different screens, you put content on all these different screens. And I was like, I think I could do this. I think I have the ability, and I have the technology now, using this program called Resloom. I think I can do this. I think I have that ability. And I did a few sets, and I did do it, and I had this moment of holy crap, I'm getting this experience that new VJs in the real world wish they could have. There's people in the real world that VJ, and they VJ on a projector at little events and stuff like that, and they don't have access, they don't have the ability to they don't work for events where they could have access to a bunch of these screens and make very intricate content to cover all of them and like do all these different like people dream at working at these big, festivals like Coachella and Electric EDC and stuff like that. And here I was living that experience for free and knowing that I was gaining the skills to potentially do that. That the skills I was doing in VRChat were transferable, and that training on these crazy screen setups in VR was training me to do this stuff at festivals in the real world. And that's when I was like, I can make a career out of this. I could take these skills, I could keep on pursuing what I'm doing in VRChat, and I can make a name for myself, and I can pretty much do what I love in the real world and make money doing it. And then I was in a position where I could dedicate most of my time to do that. And now I'm really happy to say that I have made a career in the real world VJing. And so that's my my story, I guess. I had these several aha moments. I was like, I'm good at this. I can do this. I'm getting better at this every day. And VRChat is pushing my boundaries farther than what reality pushes IRL VJs. And I know that some of the stuff that I do and the stuff that we do as a community and the VJs in this scene is pushing the boundaries of what anyone else is doing out in the real world. That's what gets me excited. That's what gets me back into this platform every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really exciting. It's very, very exciting stuff. Like, honestly, being able to find a thing that you the one thing that you feel like so inclined to pursue in VRChat or just in general in life is extremely exciting, very empowering, and that's awesome that you're able to figure that out and piece that together and really just kind of go for it. That's super, super cool. And I wish that for everybody, like that everybody will find the thing that they can do and remain passionate about and just be excited to do, like every so often or as often as they can. That's really, really special. And being able to contribute to the overall improvement and betterment of not just the scene, the SANCTUM scene or just the rave scene, but also to the to like just VRChat as a whole, to give something to the community of people who are here is, I think, that's what encourages me too. So I can definitely relate in that regard. So with all of that said, I have a couple more questions for you. Where would you see yourself in? Where would you like to be in 2 years from now?
Oh, that's easy. I was thinking you were gonna say 10. I was like, oh, I don't know. 2 years. I'm trying to move to New York. I live in Connecticut right now, and I'm like a little bit outside of the city, and that's where I do all of my work. And I'm trying to move there so I could get more gigs and more experiences and be around a friend group that I've been a part of in the city. And I want to be doing more art. I want to like really branch out into the real world. I want to kind of like intertwine my worlds a little bit more, do more immersive art experiences both in VR and IRL, and then somehow like figure out how to make experiences that like cross between both realities. That's always been a huge passion of mine, and I think I have the skills and the ability to get there. But I want to make more art. Within 2 years, I want to make more art. I want to inspire more people to get into making art, and I want to just continue what I'm doing and grow and just continue building on what I've been doing in terms of my career, and the friendships that I've been fostering, and the kind of the collaboration and the art that I'm making. And I want to uplift all my friends around me to make bigger and better art and get paid for it as well. And so that's what I'm working towards.
Hell yeah. That's a good vision. It's a good vision for the future. I like that. So I want to ask you, where if you could give any manner of advice to those who maybe want to get into VJing or DJing, or maybe even running their own venue in VRChat, or just in general, what advice, very briefly, of course, what advice would you give to those who are watching tonight, whenever they may be watching this?
Yeah. Just start doing it. Find a program. It doesn't have to be the best program, and just start somewhere. Know that your first stuff is gonna suck. Know that maybe it won't be the perfect thing, and know that you will never be satisfied in that way where I always know I could do better. And if I was waiting for myself to have the skills to do exactly what I want to be doing, I would never do it, because that goal line is always ever shifting. Whenever I gain a new skill, I feel like I could be doing better. You could always be doing better, and the way to get to the point where you're making art that you could be happy with and satisfied with, and know that you can accomplish goals, is to start now and not be afraid of it sucking a little bit, or not being afraid that your first mix is of course not going to be as good as your 100th mix, a DJing, or your first artwork is never going to be as good as your 100th artwork or your 1000th artwork. You have to start somewhere. And every artist was a kid drawing smiley faces or just drawing stick figures. But that's where you start. You start with a stick figure, and then you learn how to make muscles, or then you learn contouring, and then you just always adding on to your skill set, and always growing and always progressing, and knowing that starting is the biggest freaking hurdle that most people don't take. And just by the fear act of starting, you're already ahead of 99% of people in the world. Most people don't do stuff. And just starting and being brave enough to start is you're already winning, and you're already succeeding. And start today, and tomorrow you'll be better, and then the next day you'll be better, and then years from now, you will be holy crap, I can't believe I am doing what I'm doing today, because 4 years ago, some random person named Miss Stabby contacted me, and I was mashing GIFs together, and they looked horrible, and they were just all blown out, and it was way too bright, and it looked like garbage, and I had a bunch of Game Boys spinning on the screen with freaking weird ass GIFs being the textures for the background. I'm talking about my own experience now, because when I still have the first recorded set that I did, and I'll go look back at it and be like, holy shit, I've gotten so fucking far in just 4 years. So just start.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I love that. So before we wrap things up, I wanna quickly talk to the audience real quick. Yeah. So those of you who've been tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. We're gonna be shifting over to our post content that will be released on my Patreon at patreon.com/Nefertiti. If you are interested in hearing the some additional questions that I'll be talking to Silent about, you should definitely go over to patreon.com/Nefertiti and see if there's anything there that would interest you. Becoming a subscriber does give you, at any tier, gives you access to the post content of all my guests. Not just Silent, but all of my guests. So if that is interesting to you and you'd like to hear more of our conversation that we'll be doing in the post content, please do check that out. But we're going to be wrapping up here for the actual podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you very much, and I hope you'll be here for the next one. So Silent, thank you so much for being here and for being a part of my podcast. You've been a fantastic guest. We had a great conversation. There's so much I did not get a chance to talk to you about.
We'll have to do round 2.
Yeah. I think there's definitely more for round 2. So we'll have to work that out sometime in the future for sure. But where can people find you?
Let me just grab my because I always forget. So I'm primarily on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at _SSILENT. So that's silent with 2 S's _ silent with 2 S's. And then I'm also on Instagram, and I always forget my Instagram name, but I'm gonna pull that up real quick. So on Instagram, I'm _silent _VJ. And that's where I post a lot of the art that I'm working on and the IRL stuff that I'm working on. And I think those are 2 places you can find me. You can also find my music on Spotify under Silent Antagonist. I do have a few tracks on there.
Awesome. All right. And if you'd like to find me, you can find me over at YouTube at Nefertiti with 1 I, and you can find me over at Twitch and Twitter at with Nefertiti at Nefertiti with 2 I's. So on Twitch would be Nefertiti with 2 I's. Also Twitch and Twitter Nefertiti with 2 I's. You can find me there. That'll all be down below, so don't worry about it. And if you want to find out more information about future podcast episodes, you can find more information about that at the official Twitter for the podcast at Sweet Talking Pod. You can look up there. You get information about new guests and just new information about that, new clips that we put out. You can find all of that there. And of course, I have other places where you can find me too. So definitely go look me up, and you can find out more about that. Obviously, I mentioned the Patreon earlier, and look me up wherever you can find me. So there you go. So once again, thank you so much, Silent, for being my guest this evening. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. You're such an insightful, very you've given a lot of your experiences much thought, and it's always a pleasure to kind of have a little bit of a, like, I wouldn't say a jousting match, but kind of like talking to someone who's thought about these things very deeply. I appreciate like very like deep, nuanced conversation about very, very serious topics, especially with having to do with like the future of like what we essentially call our home and the content, this platform that we create content for. It's been really, really great to kind of pick your brain and see what you think about these various topics. It's been super insightful. I really enjoyed it.
Likewise, I love getting super deep about these subjects. VRChat is like one of my favorite ideas and subjects and things to talk about, and it's really rare that I get to like sit down with someone for a very long time and really discuss these things, especially in front of like an audience that will listen to these ideas as well. I have lots of feelings and ideas about this space, and I think there's a lot of things that people neglect to think and talk about like what's going on here and what we need to think about and what we should do in the future. And I know a lot of people are thinking about these things at home and do talk about them, and I encourage more people to talk to their friends about these issues and talk to their friends about like just these subjects and conversations, because we're a really young, budding culture and society, and it's important for us to really start to flesh it out and understand what's going on here, because it moves very, very, very quickly. If we don't take charge as a community, someone else would take charge for us. I just want to see I just want to see VR in the hands of the people, and I want to see the people making the best decisions for it, and I want to see how we can achieve that. If that means like supporting this platform to the point where they listen to us, or creating other platforms that are in our best interests. I do think VRChat is in our interests. I think they want to be in our interests, and I think there's a lot of things that like get in the way, that like outside factors that get in the way of that. I do love this space, and I do have a lot of hope and pride in VRChat and the community and the creators. But it's really important to me that people really contemplate what's going on and think about it and talk about it as much as possible.
100% agreed. I have a lot of love for VRChat also. Obviously I wouldn't be here doing what I do here if I didn't care about the betterment and the improvement and the longevity of this platform. So it really comes down to us to defend it and to fight for its well-being to the best of our ability. So I'm right there with you, Silent. So thank you again so much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure, and we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to the peeps on the podcast. So thank you all so much for joining us for episode 43 of the Sweet Talking Podcast. It's been a real pleasure. Hopefully you learned something tonight. If you did walk away with something, please be sure to leave a comment. I'd really appreciate that. And do be sure to subscribe. I'd really, really appreciate that. But as always, thank you so much for listening in, favorite, whatever the hell. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for your support. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Honestly, I think they did that little questionnaire about who uses VRC